1,000 years ago, spatial fissures began to open on the earth, from which all sorts of evil spirits emerged in flocks. Just then, under the light of the blood-red moon, the era of monsters began. Monsters began to mercilessly devastate the earth. No human weapon could withstand these giants. After 10 years, there were only 100 million people left on Earth, and when the human race was on the verge of destruction, a ray of hope appeared, a master of spirit beasts. Acquiring their own beasts gave people the belief that they could win. With each new generation of masters developing and improving their abilities, humanity, step by step, revived civilization and was able to get a chance to defeat the monsters. People had hope, and he, Lin Yuan, the best assassin of the resistance, was killed. After which he moved to a dimension where monsters live quietly. When the guy got there, he was dumbfounded by what was happening. He became the weakest rank of beast spirit. The system informed him that the spirit of the beast, a black lizard, the state is not sexually mature, the talent level is E rank, the height is 0.1 meters, the weight is 1.2 kilograms, the attack methods are bite and claws. From now on, it will accompany him and monitor his development. Over time he can become stronger. This greets him, Lin Yuan, this is Xiao Hai Long, who said that an E-rank beast spirit couldn't evolve. He, Lin Yuan, will become the best and reach the top. After some time, someone's plane flew across the sky. Over the radio, the crew members were asked to report the situation. If they heard this, they should respond, please. The guy in the black suit replied that the target had been destroyed. They spoke back to him quickly, as expected from a first-class mercenary. Next to him on chairs lay many unconscious, attacked and bloodied people. He suddenly started screaming. What was happening? They answered him, Wolf, he worked hard for the benefit of the organization all these years, but he knows too much, so let him take all these secrets with him to the grave. At that moment, the plane began to fall and many fiery flashes swept through the cabin, after which a bright explosion occurred. A moment later, Yuan landed in an unknown space, grabbed his chest with his hand and looked into the distance, after which he wondered where he was. Didn't he die in the explosion? He grabbed his head and realized that something seemed to have damaged his brain. He bent down to the ground, continuing to hold his head. 1,000 years ago, when the blood-red moon shone in the sky, spatial cracks opened everywhere, the era of monsters began on Earth. Hordes of monsters began to mercilessly destroy everything that their gaze fell on, and human weapons were useless in the fight against these monsters. After 10 years, only 100 million people remained on the planet, and soon the entire human race faced complete extinction. But in a moment of deep despair, hope for salvation appeared, the master of spirit beasts. Gradually, many people received their spirits. With each subsequent generation of lords of animal souls, people inherited and developed their skills. Humanity successfully created a new civilization that could resist the monsters. People have hope again, but each awakened beast has its own rank, from the lowest, E rank, to SSS rank, and he, Lin Yuan Beast Soul, is the lowest, E rank. He has no family or friends. He must rely on the beast soul to establish himself, but he is mercilessly mocked and shouted at from nearby desks that he is just an E rank beast soul. He is such a weakling. Do you still have the courage to come to school? They humiliate him whenever they want. He is just a piece of garbage, mercilessly thrown out by the world. A group of rude people beat him up on the street and shouted at him not to go near Sumuzu, otherwise he will beat him to death. Yuan scratched the back of his head and thought, so that means he moved. Did God take pity on him because he was brutally killed in his previous life? He saw in front of him the appearance of a person just like him, and this luminous body asked him a question. Is he the same as him? But was he betrayed? Yuan looked at this warily and realized that it was terrible. He can't move. The clone told him, if this is so, then let him leave this cruel world for him. Yuan replied by asking this again. He just needs to leave somehow dejectedly, but doesn't he want revenge? The clone asked him again, should he take revenge? He's already dead, and he is just a pathetic kid who took over his body. He replied with a menacing look that pathetic did not mean weak. Why should they just accept defeat and let the world decide their fate? Why can't they change this and choose their own path? The clone asked him again whether it was necessary to continue living in order to die after another betrayal. Doesn't it hurt? Yuan shouted that it hurt him that he couldn't choose, but now he wants to live by his own rules. The clone replied, touching his hair, it all sounds very nice, but if he continues to live in his trash body, then sooner or later he will end up like him. He replied that if he doesn't try, he won't know. He will prove that even the trash can reach the top and show the world that his destiny is in his hands. The clone told him that he really was strange, and he wondered, is he going to die again? Well, he needs to keep his word and avenge it. From this day forward, he is Lin Yuan. Yuan suddenly realized that he could move, and let him not worry, he would definitely keep his promise. But how can he become stronger? The law of the hierarchy of this world is such that the owners of E-rank beasts perform only low-paid work, barely making ends meet. Of course, in extreme cases, he can return to his previous job, becoming a killer again. The system reports that the beast has awakened and has mastered the beast evolution system, after which all the characteristics of the black lizard beast appeared. Yun saw the system window in front of him and wondered what it was. Hai Long greeted him and shouted that from now on, it would accompany him and watch his strength grow. He asked again, so this is his beast? Lung answered yes. Now they are partners whose bond is built on trust. They will definitely get along with each other. Yun stood up abruptly and walked in the other direction, causing Lung to ask a question, shouting loudly, where did he go? Will he not even ask how he can help him? He replied that he would definitely ask when the time came, but now he had one important thing to do. Lung asked him again, but who cares? Does he need help? Let him just say it and don't ignore it. Meanwhile, a girl named Sumuzu was walking in the middle of a narrow street, and someone stopped her and shouted to her, will she not run away anymore? She asked this man what he needed. The guy brought her a bouquet of roses and invited her to meet. She told him that he was daydreaming. Does he really think she's interested in despots? He replied that he knew that she had an S-rank beast, but she had awakened it not long ago, and he had specifically found a B-rank couple. Well, now he deserves what he wants. She shouted at him angrily and he added to his words, for sure, he also hit that freak. Muzu screamed at him and asked what he did to Lin Yuan. He replied that he was too arrogant and dared to cross his path. Now only the two of them were left and she had no choice but to date him. At that moment, someone suddenly ran past all his guards with incredible speed and approached him from behind. It was Yuan who grabbed him by the neck and began to choke him. The guy realized that it was he who shouted his name. Yuan smiled and said, so this is where he is. Many of his guards, after realizing what was happening, suddenly jumped up and began to approach Yuan, but they did not have time to do anything before Yuan kicked the guy in the back and pushed away from him and ran away. The guards extended their hands towards him. A moment later, he was already at a great distance from them. The guards turned to him. The guy fell to the ground and hit his face directly, and many petals fell out of the bouquet. He became angry, pointed his finger at the Yuan and shouted to his guards to kill him. The men shared and began to walk towards the Yuan with a menacing look and shouted, yes, we need to use transformations. At this moment, each guard turned into a huge beast. Yuan saw this and thought about the transformation, and they look just like animals. Can he do that too? Lun answered him that his beast was an ordinary lizard. Evolution points were awarded for absorbing others, and for winning the battle you could get a chest with a reward. He answered by asking the moons, you don't have to use transformation to win. Lun shouted back in fear, does he want to expose himself to attack in a human body? He's just crazy, they'll kill him with the first attack. He replied that if he transformed, he would die even faster. In a past life he was a murderer. At that moment the guy shouted to his guards, what are they waiting for? They should take it. The guards, who had turned into monsters, began to approach him and growl loudly. Yuan silently watched what was happening, and at that moment a bright flash of light occurred in space. The guy watched everything that was happening and said with an insidious expression on his face that he was just an idiot because they would tear him to pieces. After such conclusions, he laughed, but suddenly thick dust appeared in front of him, through which he noticed two shadows and became wary. Yuan ran sharply and found himself on the shoulders of one of the monsters. He wrapped his legs around the enemy's neck and began to twist the monster's head, and after a moment he did this and the monster's blood spilled. He descended to the ground, and the monster was completely destroyed. Muzu watched what was happening and was perplexed to realize that he was able to defeat a B-rank beast with his bare hands. He bent down to the ground and thought that it was good that his skills had not gone away, because this body was much weaker. Muzu continued to admire his strength. Lung shouted to him that he congratulated him because he defeated a rank B beast and received one black iron chest. He asked with interest the moon's chest. A chest descended from the sky in front of him, and Lun shouted that this chest could contain useful things, such as super equipment or points for leveling up skills. He shouted for the chest to open, and Lun shouted that it was a random skill book. He can get a random skill. The level of this will be from E rank to a rank. The chance of getting an A rank skill is 1%. He reached out to the system window and thought that everything was fine as long as it wasn't an E-rank skill. Suddenly there was a bright flash of light and Lun shouted in incredible surprise, oh my god, this is an A-rank skill, daylight. Once the beast's soul is activated, it will be able to emit white light that can melt even steel. The maximum temperature of this reaches 100,000 degrees Celsius. He was happy that it was an A-rank skill, and Moon shouted to him that he was really lucky. It's amazing. Maybe they'll buy a lottery ticket. Yuan, meanwhile, pointed his finger at the guy standing in shock, with the three beasts still behind him, and he said that now was not the time to celebrate. The guy pointed his finger at him and shouted, suddenly appearing behind his monsters, that these creatures should kill him, because of this he would give them 10 million. The animals were very eager for this victory, and suddenly Muzu turned to Yuan and offered to summon the beast and help him. He stopped her with his hand and said that there was no need for this if we went farther from here. At that moment, he thought that she was one of the few who were kind to him, and he would not allow her to be harmed. At that moment, a huge monster appeared above him, which created a whirlwind over his body. He made several sharp movements and dodged all the blows approaching him, after which he jumped on the head of the beast and with a sharp movement of his hand destroyed this creature, turning his head again. After such sudden movements, he jumped away from the monster, and this creature was thrown straight into the wall and completely destroyed. Lung rejoiced and shouted that this was a victory. A treasure chest made of black iron was obtained. Yuan smiled and stood in a defensive posture and thought that they shouldn't think that he was the same guy as the last Lin Yuan. After these thoughts, he suddenly ran towards the remaining monsters, both of whom shouted at the same time, "God, he's doing it so fast." With one deft move, he pushed the monsters' heads off and destroyed it. The guy raised his hands and shouted that this simply cannot be. He begs to let him go, please, because he was wrong. Yuan's eyes lit up with a bright light and he said with an ominous expression that it was too late now. The guy was very frightened by this answer and was dumbfounded, and his body was filled with cold sweat from fear. Muzu, who was still behind him, looked at him and thought that he was a very strong person. He looked into the distance and said, grabbing the backpack in his hands, that they were already leaving. She answered him, looking at the bully's broken head, okay, after which she thought that it seemed like he wouldn't bother her anymore. She is so ashamed. As an S-rank beast soul master, she should have protected him herself, yet Lin Yuan saved her and she didn't even think that he was so strong. He was surprised by her look and asked what it was. Does he have something on his face? Why is she looking at him like that? She screamed with slight fear, no, after which she tried to say in a trembling voice, she wants to thank him and let him forgive her for dragging him into all this. He replied that this was normal because they were classmates and should help each other. She told him that she thought they were friends. He asked her what. She smiled and answered with embarrassment, no, nothing, but it's late, she'll go first, they'll see each other at school tomorrow. At that moment, she wondered in her mind what was wrong with her. Wang shouted Yuan sharply that he was very lucky. Yuan lowered his gaze and asked him not to say this nonsense. She is one of the friends of the original owner of the body. If it now belongs to him, then of course he needs to protect her. Okay, now it's time to talk about their case. Lung said in a trembling voice, okay. Yuan pondered, as expected from a former assassin, his gaze and tone quite intimidating. He arrived at Lin Yuan's house, walked inside and shouted, activating the soul of the beast, after which his body glowed with a bright yellow color. Lun closed his mouth in surprise when he saw that Yuan turned into a beast and said, in the world of monsters, he is only good for a snack. He thought that it was not surprising that his bestial soul was called garbage. Lung asked if he needed his advice. Yuan shouted to him that he could say it. Lung shouted back, he can absorb and earn exaltation points and use it to strengthen himself. He just got the points from the chest. Yuan asked him again, but what does he mean by absorption? Lung shouted at him to eat it and pointed his claw at the refrigerator. Yuan looked at him in confusion and Lung continued to say that he meant that he needed to eat meat. Beast souls are the same as ordinary animals. First of all, he needs to eat a lot of protein. He also needs to remember that he needs to stay in shape and eat it raw. The transformed Yuan silently looked at the raw chicken and did not come close to the table. Lung was a little upset and asked him to eat it quickly, because then he would immediately become stronger. Yuan thought, yes, he will do this in order to level up. He grabbed the raw chicken by the throat and took a bite of the meat. Lung shouted to him after a moment that he had successfully consumed the fresh chicken meat. Yuan was pleased with the food he had taken and stroked his stomach. 5 elevation points were received. Yuan asked to use this to grow and Lung told him, okay. Yuan continued to lie on the ground, after which he suddenly stood up and shouted that he had eaten without blinking. He needed more meat. He's throwing a meat party tonight. Lung shouted that he approved of this. The next day, as a result of absorbing 100 wild rabbits, his characteristics increased, and now his beast is much larger, and he did not think that not only the level, but also the talent would also increase. He came to school and sat down at his desk, and, spinning a pencil in his hand, he thought, although he is no longer so insignificant, this is not enough, because he needs to get more points, and when he becomes even bigger, he will need to find a secluded place so as not to attract attention. He has been reborn and will climb to the top of this world. Suddenly his classmates approached him and shouted something with a menacing look on their faces. He stared at one of them and wondered if Lai Feng, this freak often bullies Lin Yuan and Zhang Lei. Why do they always act like jerks? It's simple, among them is Wu Moxuan, the master of one of the 2S rank beast souls in their school. Feng continued to scream, trash, so how much longer should he repeat? He should go faster and not make them wait long. The other guy shouted that he should be honored just by the fact that they let him do something for them. Did he understand that? Freak. Yuan shouted back at them to leave him alone and broke the pencil in his hand in anger. Feng pointed his finger at him and shouted, what is he saying? Yuan calmly asked him again, but he doesn't understand the words. Moxuan came closer and said, the weakest E-rank beast soul today is so daring. He can easily finish off his lizard, so he shouldn't show off. Yuan silently looked at him with a menacing look and he continued to say, garbage should stay in the trash. It's such a shame that there is such a weak beast soul like him in their school. If he had been in his place, he would have died in the ditch. Yuan replied that, unfortunately, he planned to live comfortably. Moxuan told him menacingly and loudly, leaning over his desk, that he would make him change his mind. Yuan asked him to try it with a smile on his face. At that moment, the teacher came in and asked the students to take their seats. It was the class teacher named Zhang Yu. The fan saw her and told him that he was lucky today, but he should no longer hope for luck. Long flew up to Yuan and said loudly, "This guy is so arrogant, but he remains in such a calm spirit." Yuan replied that he is an S-rank beast soul and it is natural that he is arrogant, but sooner or later he will finish him off. He said such ruthless words in such a calm tone, it looks like he is becoming like a master. Yu said that now she will distribute the school cultivation resources to them. It is called a beast soul crystal. The guys listened carefully to the teacher and Yuan wondered what it was. Long replied, "Beast soul crystals are the transformed blood and flesh of a monster after death. Usually it is divided into high, middle, low, and worst ranks. It contains enormous energy within, which is suitable for absorbing the souls of beasts and can also greatly enhance their abilities. In the master world, such soul crystals are equivalent to existing currency. The higher the rank of the soul crystal, the higher the price. Only low rank soul crystals already cost 1,000. Yuan shouted back that this was a really good thing. Yu loudly announced that the school distributed the beast soul crystals according to the ranking of their awakened beast souls. This was done in order to show them how the world of beast soul masters is cruel and everything in this is based only on strength. The strong are at the top and the weak are eliminated. Survival of the fittest is the greatest justice in the world of soul masters. Wu Mo Xuan, awakened soul beast, is the S-rank reptile skeleton king, receives 10 high-rank beast soul crystals. Wu Mo Xuan stood up from his seat and spoke. He is the master of one of the 2 S-rank beast souls in their school, the other is Su Muzu. Before them, there was a high school student who awakened the soul of an S-rank golden sun raven beast. Now he is the strongest lord of 10 stars. Wu Mo Xuan would definitely become just as strong. Yu came closer to him and said that even though he had climbed so high, he should not relax. With his talent, if he develops gradually, he can become the master of the beast soul. Mo Xuan shouted back to her, "Thank you, teacher, you will not disappoint her." She spoke, "Zhonglei, the awakened soul of a rank of giant stone beetle, he will receive 5 min-rank soul crystals. Lai Feng, an awakened hurricane demonic wolf, rank B, receives 5 low-rank soul crystals. Lin Yuan, an awakened beast soul black lizard of rank E, receives 5 soul crystals of the worst rank." Mo Xuan decided to ask loudly, with an E-rank talent, Lin Yuan is going to beat the school record. With such a useless beast soul, he doesn't think that he will become a master. He'd better go to work as a wall builder and save himself the shame. He and a group of guys humiliated him and laughed loudly. Yuan approached the teacher and thanked her for the crystals he received, and she asked him to try harder. Mo Xuan asked again with a grin, "Is the soul crystal of the worst rank?" With 1,000 coins he can buy a bag with radiation inside. It is not at all suitable for cultivating an animal soul. He started shouting loudly that he didn't want such garbage to be given away for free, but who cares? At this moment, Long whispered Yuan in his ear, "Inferior soul crystals are formed when monsters are destroyed by nuclear weapons, and their flesh and blood are contaminated by nuclear radiation after death. But it contains a huge amount of energy that his devouring ability can absorb. This is a very good thing for him." He listened carefully to the moon's statements and wondered, this is how it works. Yu said, "It's okay, she will give him a high-rank animal soul crystal from herself." He smiled and thanked her for this, after which he asked a question, but could he ask her to replace the high-rank crystal with a low-rank crystal? She shouted at him angrily and asked if he could even hear what he was saying. She knows that he is in a hurry to increase the power of the beast soul, but it cannot be fed with a large number of extremely harmful crystals. He thanked her again and said that in that case he would accept it. He sat down in his seat with a high-rank crystal, looked away, and Mo Xuan looked at him and thought, Lin Yuan's talent is so insignificant, how can teacher Zhang Yu be so supportive of him? Brat, Long said, once again next to Yuan's face, the cost of a high-grade soul crystal is 10,000, while a low-grade one is only 100 coins. He can exchange it for 100 low-grade soul crystals, but ordinary people don't carry that much with them. He asked again, and what should he do? Long asked to go to the Beast Soul Palace after school and exchange it there. He replied that it was a good idea. At that moment, someone called his name. It was Muzu, who came closer and asked him a question with a smile on her face. Why is he here? She offers to go home together after school. She needs to tell him something. He told her okay, and she continued saying that she just heard from the principal that the guy who bullied her left school. That's so great. At this moment, Feng, Mo Xuan, and Lei were very surprised that she came up to him, and Feng asked a question in surprise, isn't this the school beauty Su Muzu? Do they know each other? Lei was also very surprised and shouted, why does she, the owner of the S-level 9-tailed snow fox beast soul, hang around with such garbage? They had a nice conversation with Yuan, and Mo Xuan wondered why this Lin Yuan was so lucky. He has the weakest soul. He became very angry and wondered why everyone was so kind to him. From teacher to Su Muzu. In the evening after school, this company stopped the Yuan at the exit from the classroom. He asked with a grin what else did they need from him. Mo Xuan asked loudly, what kind of love potion did he give to the teacher, and what kind of vile means did he use to get closer to Su Muzu? Last time he got that rich guy to detain her so that he could then heroically intervene and become the savior. As a result, this freak dropped out of school and disappeared. Yuan asked him with a menacing look, so it was him. He realized, so it was he who killed Lin Yuan. Mokshuan shouted, a beautiful girl like Sumuzu is suitable for a talent like him. He's a worthless weakling, so why is she with him? He must stay away from her. Did he understand this? Moreover, wherever they appear, he must run away from there with incredible speed. Yuan thought that if he started a fight at school, he would be punished. Teacher Zhang Yu is kind to him, he doesn't want to make it difficult for her. After these thoughts, he approached Mokshuan's face and said that he could not and did not want to do this. Mokshuan shouted angrily, for an arrogant person like him, he will do a favor and open Sumuzu's eyes to the fact that he is just trash. But he doesn't want her to think that he is bullying the weak. Therefore, he proposes to do the following. If he goes through the 7-day trials of the beast, then he will eat a bag of lower crystals. And if he loses, he will disappear from his sight. Yuan said in response that this was a serious bet and asked him again, is he sure he can handle it? Mokshuan shouted, why should he be afraid to argue with trash like him? Yuan agreed with him with a grin on his face and shook his hand in approval. After some time, he went outside to see Muzu and she told him that he was late. He replied that something had happened. Why did she call him? She said with a smile on her face that nothing important had actually happened. She has a rank S beast soul, so the school gave her 10 high-quality crystals and she wants to share half with him. He asked her what exactly to share. She answered, crystals, what else? She heard that he only received low-rank crystals due to him having an E-rank beast soul. In that fight, when he stood up for him, he was so tough and not inferior to B-rank. As long as he trains hard, he will definitely be able to develop. How could they only give him low-quality soul crystals? He thanked her for her concern, but said that he could not take her crystals. She shouted back that she heard that the difficulty of the beast test is not at all funny, even B-rank ones can fail. She doesn't need that much, and he should absorb it because it will help him a lot for the test. He asked her again, isn't she afraid that if she gives him half of the crystals, she won't be able to pass the tests? She turned to him with a slight grin and told him that he did not underestimate her. She has an S-rank 9-tailed snow fox beast soul, she can pass this even without soul crystals. He listened to her and asked her how about this, although he couldn't tell her the reason, but if they could pass the tests, he would accept her proposal. She asked again, is this true? Then they agreed. He replied, of course it's true, but if he fails the tests, then the game won't be worth the candle, so he needs to prepare well. She shouted back that she agreed with this. He looked into her eyes and thought, when the day of testing the beast comes, she will be shocked by its strength. Lun told him, wow, she cares about him so much. They waved to each other and went their separate ways. Yuan said to Long in response that he was talking nonsense. Let him take him to the Beast Soul Palace. Lung shouted how quickly his mood changed. Palace of the Animal Soul. They went inside and Lun said, the palace is intended only for masters of the animal soul. This is where the beast will be tested. He agreed and said that the crystals needed to be exchanged first. He approached the manager and asked him to exchange it for low-grade beast soul crystals. The man looked at him questioningly and adjusted his glasses to carefully examine the crystal. He thought he went crazy. High-quality crystal exchanged for junk. He placed the bag of crystals on the table with a crash and said, 100 low-quality crystals, the commission fee is 500 coins. Yuan replied, okay. Wang asked him again, didn't he think he was some kind of crazy person? Yuan replied, placing the bag on his shoulder, that there was a fine line between genius and madness. The man could not get over the shock and looked after them carefully. An abandoned warehouse outside the city. The huge monster stood up and roared loudly. The system window reports, animal soul, huge black lizard, the state is a growth stage. Talent rating B rank, level, 7-star battle beast. Height 3.1 meters, weight 540 kilograms, attack methods are bite, claw attack. Daylight skill. Bright magical sparks appeared around the black lizard's body and a small purple crystal appeared in its paw. Lung was surprised by this and shouted that he had successfully absorbed nuclear radiation. Received 1,000 evolution points. Yuan, reincarnated as a lizard, said one chicken gave only 5 points, and for absorbing a low-quality soul crystal, he received as much as 1,000. These 100 stones are equal to 100,000 evolution points. Each level is divided into 9 stars. His current level is a 7-star beast. There are ranks, Emperor, Lord, Beastmaster, Beast General, and War Beast. After absorbing all the crystals, in his opinion, there is nothing difficult in testing the beast. A week later, Beast Soul Palace. Many people communicated and discussed pressing issues. Some guy said, he is so nervous, he has absorbed all the soul crystals issued by the school, and he only has a 4-star battle beast. He doesn't know if he can pass the test. Another guy told him how terrible. He already has a 4-star beast, which is at least B rank. With his D rank, he barely reached 2 stars. This year, there are 2 S ranks in their school. They are the Reptile Skeleton King Wumokshuan and the 9-tailed Snow Fox, Sumuzu. He doesn't even know what level they are. The other guy is afraid that only they will be able to enter the Yanjing Beast University, or the Mo City Beast University? Mokshuan shouted sharply and loudly, stretching out his hand towards Yuan. That soul crystal that teacher Zhang Yu gave him helped his pitiful lizard break through to the first level of the martial beast. Yuan did not pay attention to his questions and continued on his own. Suddenly, Yuan turned around and decided to ask him a question. Is he ready for this? Mokshuan crossed his arms and continued to shout. His beast soul had already reached the level of an 8-star martial beast. He would easily pass the test. Yuan replied that he didn't ask that. He asked if he was willing to eat a bag of low-quality crystals. The surrounding people were very surprised by the question asked and began to whisper among themselves. Lin Yuan went crazy. Wu Mokshuan has an 8-star battle beast. Mokshuan and his group of menacing guys were very annoyed because of his behavior, but suddenly the Yu teacher turned to the students and announced that the exam would begin soon. Please, they should take their ID and entrance ticket with them. They should enter the palace one by one. Many students were frightened by the upcoming events. Mokshuan pointed his fist towards Yuan and shouted at him, let him just wait until the end of the test and he will be finished. Yuan answered him emotionlessly, yes. Beast Soul Palace, 3rd floor, exam area. The man standing in the center of the exam area says, exam number 95,821, examinee Lin Yuan, please prepare for the exam. He walked closer to the man and replied that he was here. The examiner asked him again, carefully examining the documents in his hands, did he awaken an E-rank beast soul? He answered yes. The man thought that he was sorry that he would not be able to pass the exam, and he wished him luck, patting him on the shoulder. Yuan thanked the teacher for his support, after which he sat down in the system chair, put on his helmet, and the system informed him that the combat simulation would begin soon. The countdown from 5 to 1 began. A moment later, his eyes opened and lit up with a bright light. He found himself in a barren desert and realized that there seemed to be no terrain advantage he could take advantage of. He heard a loud sound, because of which he looked around and in the distance noticed a monster approaching him, which made him very wary. He saw that it was a 3-star war beast, a desert wolf, the opponent of the first stage of the test of the beast. The desert wolf began to growl loudly and opened its mouth wide. Yuan tried to dodge the sudden movements of this monster and he thought, is it so weak? Long asked Yuan, is he not going to merge with the beast's soul? He replied while watching the monster being attacked. After being attacked by low-level beasts, this is not necessary. Simply by taking advantage of this opportunity, he will warm up his muscles well. Suddenly there were several more monsters behind him. The teacher was very surprised watching what was happening and wondered, did this guy pass the first level? Suddenly, Yuan began attacking new monsters with his bare hands and twisting the necks of these creatures. The teacher shouted to the others to look at it. Another man was surprised by his reaction and asked him what was going on there. The teacher himself wondered what was happening. He killed a 3-star desert wolf without using the power of a beast's soul. He hasn't even merged with the beast's soul yet. Everyone was surprised by his talent. He destroyed the last monster and the blood of this creature was shed. He made a deft move and finally finished off this creature. The teachers started screaming and asking how he could do it. He's just a monster. Defeating 3-star desert wolves without merging with a beast's soul is an unprecedented event. The teacher grabbed his head and shouted to the other man, so he thinks he's cheating. After all, the purpose of the exam was to test the strength of the beast's soul, and he didn't even take advantage of it. The other teacher said with a serious expression, this is indeed against the rules, but it is not cheating. They will see if he passes the 3rd level. If not, he will fail the beast's tests. The teacher shouted back at him, that's right, the first 2 levels are designed for candidates to adapt to the rhythm of real combat. The 3rd is key. It is almost impossible to pass the 3rd level without resorting to the power of the animal soul. Even with the strength he is showing now, it's a pity that his beast soul talent rating is only E rank, but if his beast soul is stronger, then his future will be promising. Lung asked him to save his strength. This is just a snack, the real test will be ahead. He was among the monsters who attacked himself, and suddenly an incredibly huge monster with bright red eyes appeared in front of him and looked at him ominously. Lung said, this is the 6-star king of the desert wolves. Yuan's mouth opened in shock and a cold sweat broke out on his face. He spoke with a serious expression, defeating a beast of this level requires a high level of beast soul talent. It is not for nothing that they say that only candidates with beast souls of rank and above are able to pass the beast tests in the first year of training. It's time to show your true strength. He spoke out loud, merging with the animal soul. Lun shouted to him, well, he finally did it. At this moment, his entire body lit up blue and the system window told him all the characteristics of the huge black lizard into which he had turned. After a moment, Moon shouted with joy that he had successfully reached a higher level. This is a new beginning. He opened his huge mouth and roared loudly at the monster. Suddenly, one of the teachers watching what was happening became thoughtful and wondered what happened to the weak animal soul of the lizard. Even such a small thing as the ability to become a Tyrannosaurus. The teacher shouted and asked, he didn't make a mistake during the inspection. Is he really E rank? Another teacher shouted, showing him the documents, he is not blind. If he doesn't believe it, Then he should check for himself. His registration card shows exactly E rank. The teacher asked him again, shouting loudly in bewilderment, "Then what is happening? Such a gigantic beast must be at least the rank of general. This is incredible. Only a few days have passed since the awakening of the beast soul, and he already has a beast soul of the rank of general, which means his talent is not lower than S rank. No, rather SS or SSS rank." The huge lizard found itself opposite the defenseless, frightened little monster. He was able to reach this level. The monster bared its teeth and jumped high, growling loudly. The lizard's body continued to glow with magical light. Yun swung his paw and destroyed his opponent with one easy movement. The teachers were incredibly scared and shouted, "He killed the 6-star beast in a second." One of them ordered the other to stay here and continue to record his details while he reported the situation to the chief examiner. The teacher shouted at him, "Okay, he should hurry up with this." Another teacher, who ran to report what was happening, smiled and thought that finally a shocking super talent had appeared in their Jinhee city. Many more wolves began to approach Yun and he wondered if more wolves had appeared. The degree of difficulty of the exam is a little disappointing for him. Lung flew closer to him and shouted, "The first 3 levels are needed to get a passing score. He should continue the fight so he can get a higher score." This is important because many famous universities recruit Beast Soul Masters based on the results of the Beast test. 6-star Desert Wolf King and 10 3-star, this level seems to test the combat ability of Soul Masters. He growled loudly and realized that for him this was a mere trifle. The rest of the wolves approached him, but at that moment he made a sudden movement and the blood of the monsters spilled, after which there was a bright flash of light and one of the wolves was destroyed and heavily bloodied. After that, Yun continued to destroy one monster after another and after some time he destroyed all the monsters, after which he asked the question, "How many more levels are there?" Meanwhile, the chief examiner Zhao Shan shouted, "Why was it necessary to call him and why such a rush? Don't they know that invigilators are not allowed to leave the examination area without permission?" The teacher told him, "Mr. Zhao, the fact is that one test subject has indicators outside the norm, so he wants him to take a look at him personally." Shan asked him again. He said, "What is it outside?" The examiner continued to explain to him that his talent rating did not match the strength he had demonstrated. Shan replied, "There is nothing unusual about this. Many people exceed their limits during real combat. B rank can surpass the performance of a rank. He is exaggerating too much." The examiner shouted back that his talent was ranky. Shan turned sharply to him and asked again, shouting loudly, "What? He dared to participate in the testing of beasts with such and such talent. Yes, this guy is a daredevil, and he only summoned it because of the student who had awakened a ranky beast soul." The examiner shouted back, "Mr. Zhao, first you need to look at his fight and then draw conclusions." He went to the computer to show everything that was happening in the exam area. Shan said, "Could it be that a ranky beast soul master was able to pass the tests?" At this moment, around the lizard's body there was only the remaining dust from the fierce battle. Shan saw this and became very wary, after which he shouted and asked a question, "Is he sure that he has E rank?" Another examiner asked him again, so now he understands why they called him here. He thinks he has the strength of at least a beast general. Many monsters formed around him again. Now he is at the 10th level of the test. The 10th level is the last and very difficult level, since each of the 10 wolves has the strength of a 7-star war beast. He was asked again, so does this mean that if he can pass level 10, then this will be proof that he has the power of a beast general? He replied, "Moreover, the best universities will begin to fight for him. Without exception, everyone who is able to pass the 10 levels of the test is a genius. At the very least, this child's future achievement is a Lord rank Soul Beast Master. Perhaps he will even become an Emperor ranked Beast Soul." The examiners were greatly surprised by this information and opened their mouths. Shan shouted, "Okay, it's too early to talk about it. It remains to be seen whether he can pass this level." At this moment, Yun was thinking that he thought that the final stage of ability evaluation would be the head of the monsters, but there are only 10 Desert Wolf Kings here. These creatures look at him with an ominous look. Yun tissed and suddenly moved to attack these creatures, loudly shouting that they are scum, just trash. He pointed his claws at them, and continued to scream and destroy one after another with incredible speed, that it doesn't matter how many there are, they're just a bunch of trash. More and more wolves were heading towards him, but he destroyed them with agility and speed. These creatures could not bite through his body. This is a terrifying defense. The examiners realized that he was able to withstand the 7-star beast's attack. Attack, defense, speed, and explosive power, all at an ideal level. If this is truly an E-level talent, then he will go and commit suicide. Everything around was filled with blood from the killed monsters, and Yun wondered, looking into the distance, 6 more. He opened his mouth and the wolves became very wary when they saw such a monster in front of them. Shan wondered in fear what kind of power this was. In this case, he made a bright blast wave that illuminated the entire area and decided to get rid of them in one fell swoop. He created a bright beam that was directed towards the monsters and crushed the entire road in its path. After this, Yun roared loudly and raised his head up. The examiners were perplexed and did not understand at all what kind of technique this was. They watched what was happening in fear. On the exam field, everything turned out to be dust, and a moment later the system reports that the test subject, Lin Yuan, has successfully passed all stages of the test of the beast. Lin Yuan is relieved that the beast's ordeal was much easier than he expected. Since he passed the last level, it means that he is guaranteed a good grade. How many people will be surprised when the results are announced? After all, even Wu Moxuan with an S-rank talent was definitely not able to pass the beast test. He wants to take this opportunity to let all the universities see that even an E-rank beast soul can have tremendous power. Xiao Hailong also thinks that the exam is over. Yuan then takes off his helmet. Standing next to him are two men and Zhao Shan, who look at him in bewilderment. Lin Yuan's profile is displayed on the computer screen, which says his gender is male, his age is 18 years old, his awakened animal soul is a black lizard. His talent rating corresponds to E-rank. His real strength is equal to a 3-star beast general. These data were obtained from demonstrated forces in an actual combat simulation, subject to some errors possible. The men look at him and think in horror. 18 years old, less than 2 weeks after awakening the beast's soul, he reached the rank of 3-star beast general. Such power is simply terrifying. Zhao Shan looks at Lin Yuan and turns to him with a frown. He congratulates that Yuan has passed all levels of the beast test. Does he know what it means? Yuan smiles happily and asks again, does this mean he has a good grade? One of the examiners happily explains, what this means is more than a good grade. He has demonstrated talent and strength, and therefore the beast universities of Yanjing and Mo City will surely compete for him. Yuan replies that this is good, so when will the results be published? The examiner replies that if nothing happens, the lists will be announced this afternoon. At this time he thinks, usually others feel excitement or joy, he is too calm. Lin Yuan comes out of the capsule, bows and thanks everyone, then adds that if that's all, then he will go. General Zhao Shan calls out to him and asks him to wait. Yuan asks in surprise, what else? Shan continues to frown and asks why his talent is only E-rank. Was something wrong during the awakening of his animal soul? If he has any problems, he can turn to him, he will help him. But Lin Yuan explains, no, his beast soul was indeed weak during his awakening, so he was given the E-rank. General Zhao Shan is worrying in vain. But almost immediately one of the examiners turns to the chief examiner out of suspicion and asks if he thinks this guy told him the truth. The main thing is that the examiner answers in confusion. It doesn't look like he was lying, but he was very surprised by his character. Shan looks after Yuan and notes that after achieving impressive results, he did not look arrogant, which is very commendable. In the future, another Beast Soul Master with enormous power will appear. At this time, near the Beast Soul Palace, a large number of students were excitedly discussing the upcoming exam. Su Muzu's voice suddenly rang out as she joyfully shouted to Lin Yuan. She stood near the tree and waved at him with all her might. When she ran up to Yuan, he immediately asked her how it went. Did she pass the exam? Muzu exclaimed, of course she passed. And the grades are good. Lin Yuan asked again, is this so? How many levels did she complete? Su Muzu answered with a smile, 9. Yuan looked at her in surprise and noted that this was really not bad. He didn't expect her to complete 9 levels. It seems her powers have increased more than he expected. She wants to ask him for his assessment, but doesn't know how. After all, usually people with an E rank could hardly pass the first level. Later she will be very surprised. Lin Yuan then happily says, 100 times the exam is over, they can no longer think about grades. He also invites her to dinner to celebrate her success. Muzu smiles and stretches out her hand and exclaims, okay, then she wants a big bowl of noodles. But Yuan clarifies with surprise, that's all. Just a bowl of noodles. Su Muzu explains that she is so hungry that she will eat everything he gives. Then Lin Yuan begins to think, this restaurant is far away, they won't miss the listing announcements. Well, Su Muzu grabs his hand, starts running and says with a smile, in any case, the results have already been determined, and what will be announced is just a rating. Lin Yuan mentally agrees and thinks, no matter what, no one can surpass his grades. Muzu continues to pull his hand and shout that they should go faster, she is hungry. Yuan immediately replies that he understands it. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the square of the Palace of the Bestial Soul, among the crowd, someone shouts and demands that people move out of the way. The students are wondering, who is this guy? He's an upstart. Wu Moxuan from Genhai High School, S-Rank Beast Soul Master. He completed 7 levels, the same result as last year's winner. He is strong. He should be this year's top candidate. The talent of an S-Rank Beast Soul is terrifying. With such results, he will be able to enter one of the best universities, right? At this time, Moxuan triumphantly thinks that an outstanding personality like him is attracting attention everywhere. He was preparing for this exam, even asked his parents to buy him an expensive pill in order to maximize the potential of the animal soul in a short time. Then one of his friends asks why he hasn't seen Lin Yuan. Wu Moxuan confidently replies that it's not even worth asking. Obviously he was hiding somewhere, daring to challenge him with his rank. Then the friend exclaims with a sly smile that Lin Yuan is so funny, if he were in his place, he wouldn't dare say a word and would have buried himself in the ground long ago in shame. Another friend sighs and also adds that he would like to watch this show, but Yuan didn't even show up, he's a real coward. Suddenly Wu Mokshuan interrupts their conversation and says, okay, since Lin Yuan doesn't want to go out, then he will remain a coward for the rest of his life. He also thinks that Yuan's escape is exactly what he wants so that he won't appear again. At this moment, Yuan's voice is heard, who turns to Muzu and says, as he said, the restaurant was far away, but she wanted to eat there. She answers with a laugh that everything is fine, they are just in time. But she ate deliciously. Wu Mokshuan turns and sees them passing by. Su Muzu smiles cheerfully as Lin Yuan tells her something. Mokshuan starts to get very angry and thinks that Lin Yuan is an idiot. How dare he appear in front of him with Su Muzu? Wu Mokshuan then approaches them and angrily asks, is this not Lin Yuan? He is so calm, it looks like the test grade is not bad. Yuan briefly answers, yes, he is completely satisfied. One of Mokshuan's friends mockingly asks, is he happy with this? So modest. It must have been difficult to pass the first level. Another friend also grins evilly, you can overcome the first level without any skills. Are there people who couldn't? Those around who heard this began to laugh and say that they shouldn't embarrass Lin Yuan so much. It's very good that an E-rank guy found the courage to participate in the exam. Mokshuan leans towards Yuan, pointing a finger, reminds, he didn't forget about their bet, did he? In response, Lin Yuan scratches his head and replies, before he told him, he almost forgot. Since he reminded, is he ready to lose? Upon hearing this, Wu Mokshuan begins to get very angry and exclaims, lose. How can he play with a moron like him? At this very moment the clock strikes exactly 2 o'clock and people start shouting that the lists have been posted. Exam results announced. Questions immediately began. The lists were announced, then in first place. Wu Mokshuan immediately exclaims joyfully, he is this year's champion. He then begins to read the list and sees that Su Muzu is in second place and her score is 9 levels, passing the beast test. He looks at it in bewilderment and wonders if he has third place. Are there really 2 more in front of him? He reads the list further and sees that he is in third place, the test of the beast has been passed. Mokshuan is even more surprised, Su Muzu is in second place. She was able to pass level 9. He didn't expect that her talent would be higher than his. No, if she completed 9 levels and is only in second place, then what kind of monster is in first? Beads of sweat run down his face from excitement. On the big one it is announced that Lin Yuan has received a rating that is equal to 10 levels of beast testing. Wu Mokshuan can't believe it, Lin Yuan. How is this possible? How could he pass 10 levels with his E-rank beast soul? People in the crowd begin to wonder, who is Lin Yuan? He's cool for being able to complete 10 levels. There are only 10 of them in the exam, right? Yes, he is a real monster. He doesn't know what kind of beast soul Yuan has awakened, but the power of it has reached such an incredible level. Even surpassed Su Muzu and Wu Mokshuan. She completed 9 levels, but unfortunately ran into a monster. The most shameful thing is that Wu Mokshuan boasted the most before the results were announced, but only ended up in third place. Mokshuan grabs his head with his hands and is horrified. At this moment, Yuan approaches him and reminds him with a smile that he said that Wu Mokshuan lost. Isn't it time for him to fulfill the terms of the dispute? Then he adds with a smile, would he prefer to eat the bag of inferior crystals dry or with seasoning? Suddenly a crowd of people see him and exclaim with delight, here he is, Lin Yuan, who took first place. Su Muzu also looks at him and thinks his ranking is higher than her. That's why when she said her results, he wasn't surprised. But the question is, how did he do it? Mokshuan begins to frantically shout that this is impossible. How could an E-rank idiot get such a result? He cheated. A crowd of people hears this and chaos begins around. People ask in bewilderment, isn't this Wu Mokshuan? Does he think Lin Yuan cheated? Cheated? So is this true or false? Is this possible during the exam? What? Number 1 fooled everyone. Isn't this Su Muzu? She's there too. Lin Yuan hears this and annoyedly asks, did he cheat? Does Mokshuan really think that he would do such a thing to win? But Wu Mokshuan starts shouting back that Yuan has an E-rank beast soul. How then was he able to pass the 10 levels of the beast test? People hear this and immediately start wondering, is an E-rank beast soul? Isn't that the lamest thing? How did he manage to complete 10 levels? Did she really cheat? Really? This is a simulation of real combat, and nothing from the outside world can be brought into it. Deception is hardly possible. Xiao Hailong appears next to Lin Yuan and looks around in surprise, sighs and says, doubts have arisen. Yuan then turns to Mokshuan and asks who said that an E-rank beast soul couldn't pass the exam. It doesn't say this anywhere in the reference books, right? But Wu Mokshuan continues to insist on his own and shout that Lin Yuan should not be complacent. He will submit an application to the Beast Soul Palace Court, and will expose the sad methods that Yuan used. Lin Yuan asks again, the court. Xiao Hailong explains that if candidates have doubts about the evaluation, They can go to the Beast Soul Palace court, but the meeting is rarely held because of others' evaluations. Then Yuan turns to Mosh and resolutely says that he can do whatever he wants, but if it turns out that he is not guilty, then Mokshuan will not forget to fulfill the terms of the dispute. Hai Long also adds that a rank S Beast Soul is not good at losing at all. Mokshuan responds by pointing his finger at Yuan again and shouting, "How dare he?" Suddenly someone asks what is all the noise outside the palace. Then people see a person walking towards them, above which a bear appears with its mouth wide open. People see him and exclaim, "Chief Examiner." Zio Hailong also notes in surprise, as expected from a Lord rank Beast Soul Master, his suppression power is very powerful. Yuan also sees this and thinks about it, a Lord rank Beast Soul Master. People in the crowd start exclaiming again, "Is this the Chief Examiner Zhao Shan?" It is said that his big fierce bear has already reached the level of a 7-star lord. It can't be, among all the Lord rank Beast Soul Masters, he is quite strong, right? He is a talented master from Genhai who decided to come here as an examiner. Zhao Shan comes up and menacingly asks, did he hear that someone wants to go to court? Wu Mokshuan approaches him and lowers his head and replies that he wants to file a lawsuit, because he believes that student Len Yuan's assessment is baseless. He then turns around and points his finger at Yuan and exclaims, he awakened an E-rank Beast Soul, but was able to pass 10 levels, this is not normal. In this regard, he would like to ask the Beast Soul Palace for a reasonable explanation. But Shan explains that it just so happened that he was present at Len Yuan's exam and watched everything that happened from beginning to end. He didn't find anything unusual. Mokshuan wants to say that he helped Yuan cheat. Wu Mokshuan immediately tries to explain everything. Zhao Shan is the pride of Genhai, he will not dare to doubt him. But the Beast Soul awakened by Len Yuan was rated as an E-rank talent. He thinks that everyone present is absolutely clear what this means. Someone in the crowd also asked how he was able to complete 10 levels with such a soul. Wu Mokshuan continued, so he thinks that Examiner Zhao should at least release the video of candidate Len Yuan's battle to convince the public. In support of this, people in the crowd shouted that they were also very interested in how he did it. But Zhao Shan menacingly replied that he was sorry, but he could not agree to this demand. According to the regulations of the Beast Soul Palace, the examiner is prohibited from disclosing information about candidates except in special cases. In response to this, Wu Mokshuan smiles slyly and says, since the video of the fight cannot be published, there is another way to verify the authenticity of the results. Shan briefly orders him to speak. Mokshuan immediately exclaims that they should be allowed to have a duel. If Yuan wins, he will prove the frequency of the assessment. But if he loses, that will be enough to prove that his grade was obtained through dishonest means. The crowd begins to exclaim, Wu Mokshuan is going to humiliate Len Yuan. Hearing this, Su Muzu exclaims irritably, how disgusting Mokshuan is, he does whatever he wants to humiliate Yuan. But Yuan shows her a gesture with his hand so that she calms down and says, it's okay. Zio Hailong displeasedly notes that Mokshuan's thoughts are obvious. He wants to take the chance to fight Yuan, then prove to everyone that he is a loser. But he looks intently at Wu Mokshuan and replies that this is very opportune. They will be numbered just now. Wu Mokshuan turns to Examiner Zhao and clarifies that it's not forbidden to challenge the beasts of the soul on the palace grounds, is it? Confirms, true, but you also need to find out the opponent's opinion. At this time, those around are wondering, will Lin Yuan accept the challenge? Someone answers that the situation is so tense that he has no other choice. If he refuses to accept the challenge, everyone will consider him a cheater. Wu Mokshuan smiles slyly and asks if Lin Yuan dares to fight him. Muzu stands next to Yuan and tells him if he is not sure, then he can refuse. But Yuan explains that if someone provokes, then it is useless to tolerate it. The only way to make him afraid is to break his bones. With these words, he raises his hand and says that he agrees to the fight. The crowd hears and is perplexed. He accepted the challenge. An S-rank beast soul will fight with an E-rank soul. This has never happened before. However, the difference in levels is so great that Lin Yuan will be defeated. But he is the first person in the city to pass the 10 levels of the beast's test. The outcome of the battle is difficult to predict. Zhao Shan also explains that, to be honest, he believes that this fight is unnecessary. They are both the pride of Genhai City, taking first and third place. There is no need to fight to the death over such a trifle. As he had already said, he was able to personally verify that Yuan did not cheat during the exam process. Mokshuan hears this and irritably thinks, why are they both helping Lin Yuan? Is he so special that they cover him up? He then shouts to Yuan, if so, then he must fight him. It would be very good if Examiner Zhao witnessed this battle. He will show him how he will tear Yuan to shreds. Zhao Shan sighs and announces, in this case, their fight will take place in the arena of the Beast Soul Palace. Everyone who wants to watch can come. After some time, the arena of the Beast Soul Palace was filled with spectators. Zhao Shan announced that if both sides are ready, they can begin the fight, but first they need to explain the rules. This battle is just a sparring. They can give it their all, but they can't kill. The battle will end as soon as one side admits defeat. It is prohibited to use any foreign objects during the fight. If one of the rules is broken, it will be considered a defeat. All clear. Mokshuan and Yuan, looking intently into each other's eyes, simultaneously answer, yes. Then Zhao Shan says okay, then he declares the battle to begin. Wu Mokshuan immediately turns to Yuan and says that he must understand that everything that happens is his fault. But Lin Yuan also replies he didn't expect that in order to avoid the terms of the bet, he would make such a fuss. If he simply begs for mercy, he will consider sparing him his lunch with inferior crystals. He mentally adds, after all, if she gives them to Mokshuan, it will be a waste. Immediately after the fight begins, Wu Mokshuan screams for Lin Yuan to die and uses Beast Soul Fusion. Then immediately he turns into a large and skeletal lizard. The audience exclaims in bewilderment, what kind of monster is this? King of the reptile skeleton. Yes, he's all 5 meters. So what is an S-rank soul like? Truly talent, visible to the naked eye. He truly is a third-place genius. At this time, Mokshuan tries to hit Yuan with his tail, but he jumps and dodges the blow. Wu Mokshuan asks, is this idiot afraid of merging with a beast soul? The crowd also wonders why Yuan doesn't transform. If he can crush an S-rank soul, will that mean he didn't cheat? Su Muzu watches from the side and thinks the beast soul Lin Yuan is just a small E-rank lizard. Although it is unclear how he passed the 10 levels of the test, but if Wu Mokshuan dares to harm him and Zhao Shan does not stop him, she will do it. Xiao Hailong is also next to her and turns to her and says, although she can't hear him, she shouldn't worry. Lin Yuan will not lose to this guy. At this moment, Lin Yuan smiles slyly and says, since Mokshuan is waiting for him to merge with the beast soul, then he will satisfy his desire. After this, he begins to merge with the animal soul. He rises into the air and is surrounded by bright luminous rays. The next moment, a large black lizard appears in his place, which turns out to be larger than Wu Mokshuan. The audience sees this and can't believe it. Is it an E-rank beast soul? Have they gone crazy? The reptile skeleton king is also perplexed. This is impossible. Is this an E-rank soul? How could he grow up so quickly? The black lizard looks down at him and asks what happened to his animal soul. Lin Yuan then raises his paw and asks, who said that an E-rank soul should be weaker than an S-rank? Immediately after these words it strikes. The reptilian skeleton king sees this and dodges the blow at the last moment. He indignantly thinks that if he had touched him with a claw, he would have become crippled. Lin Yuan has the strength of a beast soul general, no less. But the same is impossible. Rise to such a level in just a few days. He won't have time to dodge. He again sees the paw of a black lizard moving towards him and exclaims in horror, it can't be. How can he, the reptile skeleton king, lose to such an E-rank idiot? He then tries to swing his tail, but the black lizard mockingly replies that Mokshuan did not expect him to dare to fight back. Lin Yuan then grabs the reptile skeleton king's tail. He starts screaming in horror, what is Yuan going to do? The black lizard asks, what does he think? With these words he begins to swing it from side to side. Loud sounds of blows are heard, stones crash around. Mokshuan sees Lin Yuan showing off his claws. The crowd desperately shouts that Lin Yuan has defeated Wu Mokshuan. Is this his true power? It turns out that examiner Zhao Shan was not protecting Lin Yuan at all, he was trying to protect Wu Mokshuan. Su Muzu also looks at this in surprise and thinks, although she knew that Lin Yuan is not weak, but the E-rank beast soul is so amazing. At this time, the reptile skeleton king screams, it is impossible for his S-rank beast soul to be weaker than E-rank. Suddenly a strong black lizard grabs him. Yuan announces that Mokshuan has lost. He crawls to the side and shouts, who said that? Then he opens his mouth and there is a small red ball on his tongue. Then he abruptly closes his mouth and bites it into pieces. Zhao Shan sees this and realizes that it is a blood capsule. Xiao Hailong appears next to the black lizard and announces that Mokshuan has just eaten a pill that allows him to increase his level in a short time. His strength would rise from the level of an 8-star battle beast to a 3-star beast general. However, after taking such a medicine, recovery will take a month. He is crazy, he wants to defeat him at all costs. Lin Yuan also adds that he is just a clown. But suddenly Zhao Shan takes the microphone and loudly announces that Wu Mokshuan is declared the loser for violating the rules of the fight. He then continues to observe what is happening and realizes that Wu Mokshuan is even more useless than he imagined. The black lizard prepares to attack and Shan wonders, is Lin Yuan going to continue the fight with Mokshuan even after he took the delp? Suddenly the reptile skeleton king opens his mouth wide and shouts that he will kill Yuan. But Lin Yuan just stares at him. The reptile skeleton king wonders why he is so calm. Is it obvious that he is now stronger than him? But suddenly he sees that the black lizard has opened its mouth wide and wonders what kind of power this is. There is no turning back for him. Lin Yuan must die. At this very moment, a large luminous ball appears from the rescue black lizard, which begins to hit Mokshuan. This glowing ball turns into a long beam of light that sends it straight into the wall. He turns back into a human and falls to the ground. Zhao Shan shouts, he officially announces that Lin Yuan has won this battle. Moreover, Wu Mokshuan took illegal drugs during the fight to artificially increase his strength. So, does anyone have an objection to student Lin Yuan's assessment? The crowd exclaimed angrily, "It can't be that Wumok Shuan couldn't win even with the help of drugs. Lin Yuan is too strong. What blind person assessed his beast soul as an E-rank talent? Have they ever seen an E-rank person defeat an S-rank person?" At this time, Shan approaches Mok Shuan, grabs his hand and tells one of the examiners to take him to the infirmary. The injuries are not fatal, but the side effects after taking the drug are enough to keep him in bed for a couple of months. The examiner briefly replies that he understood everything. Then two men accompany Mok Shuan and sadly notes now, no reputed university seems to accept him. Another adds, "As you make your bed, so you must lie in it." At this time, Zhao Shan approaches Yuan and congratulates him on winning the duel. Yuan immediately thanks him, but Shan asks what he thanks him for. Yuan explains that he gave him the opportunity to traumatize Wumok Shuan. He also thinks that Zhao Shan should have stopped him in time, but did not do so. Then Shan leans towards him, puts his hand on his shoulder and says, in fact, he is not only the chief examiner, but also a member of the admissions committee of the University of Animals in Mo City. Does he want to join them? Lin Yuan asks again, what? At this moment, Xiao Hailong is next to him and explains that the animal universities of Yanjing and Mo City are the most prestigious. Only the best of the best go there. Then Lin Yuan asks again with a satisfied smile, is Teacher Zhao recruiting people for his benefit? And he is the best in Zhenhai, right? Zhao Shan hears this and Worsley wonders, is this guy even normal? Is he doing the university a favor? The first thing he thought about was what advantages the university would give him. Yuan continues, such a first-class educational institution must be able to offer certain conditions. Shan replies with a grin, of course, if he wants to enroll with them, then he can apply for a full degree ideal payout, including 500,000 coins, 20 high-grade beast soul crystals, 5 beast soul capsules, and a general rank beast sword. Yuan hears this and begins to reflect. 20 high-quality crystals cost 200,000 coins, and a beast soul capsule costs 250,000 coins. Hai Long flips a coin and tells him to think twice. Zhao Shan then adds that this is the best the university can offer him. He and the university leadership are sincere in their intentions. But suddenly someone shouts that Zhao Shan is shameless. A man with a strong build and long blonde hair approaches them. He furiously asks if the recruitment campaign has not yet begun, and he has already lured this guy by deception. Lin Yuan looks attentively and thinks, who is this? He is talking in this tone to Zhao Shan. It turns out to be Cheng Yu from Yanjing Animal University. Shan closes his eyes and asks him not to say anything stupid. Can't young talents go to any university except his? But Cheng Yu shouts sharply, enough. He then turns to Yuan and exclaims not to let him be fooled. Their university is in many ways superior to the University of Mo City. If he goes to them, he will be given 500,000 coins, 40 high-quality beast soul crystals, and 10 beast soul capsules. And exclaims in surprise, as expected from Yanjing University, they are really rich. So this is how geniuses are treated. Two popular universities not only compete for students, but also offer resources. One of the spectators also tells the other that if he passes all 10 levels of the exam, he too will be able to enjoy such honors. At this moment, Zhao Shan partially merges with the beast soul and shouts, how dare Cheng Yu lure the student right in front of him. But Yu also partially merges with his beast soul and exclaims, who is he trying to scare? At some point, a confrontation begins between them. Lin Yuan thinks in surprise, this is the energy of the powers of Lord Rank Beast Souls. Then he gets ready to fight, but suddenly someone asks what the mess the two of them made. At this moment, a person with a sloth beast soul approaches them. The beast souls of Cheng Yu and Zhao Shan immediately disappeared. Lin Yuan looks at the man carefully and is surprised. He suppressed the auras of the big furious bear and the ghostly void tiger. Could this chubby man's strength be greater than Zhao Shan and Cheng Yu? The man comes up and kindly says that young Yuan should come to them at Cheshuan Beast University. They will give him 3 million coins, 50 high-quality soul crystals, and 10 beast soul capsules. This man's name is Ding Lushan. He is from Cheshuan Beast University. He then adds that he will be given 20 high-quality crystals every semester until he graduates. He also won't lie if he says that they spare no effort in developing talents. Yuan listens carefully and thinks, a rich university. Then there are people around him who also stubbornly ask him why don't he consider their university, they can offer him such conditions. Another person insists that Lin Yuan needs to choose Canon University. Someone also holds up a piece of paper and shouts that he needs to come to Qingbei University. Last year they ranked 8th in the ranking. Yuan smiles embarrassedly and thinks, although they all want to accept him, but clearly to use him as free advertising. Cheng Yu then loudly orders them to stop making noise, and asks Lin Yuan what he thinks. Yuan bows and says that he is grateful to all of them, but he is very sorry. Apart from Yanjin Animal University and Mo City Animal University, he does not consider other organizations. Ding Lushan adds that if he changes his mind, he can come to him at any time. Yuan also replies that if anything happens, he will contact him. Then Shan and Yuhu menacingly orders him to answer who he will choose. But Yuan makes a gesture with his hand and replies that he has made a decision before the admissions campaign begins. Shan humbly replies, okay, he will wait. Yuhu exclaims with a smile to think it over carefully. Lin Yuan again replies that he understands everything. After that, Zhao Shan and Cheng Yu leave. Yuan hears Shan become indignant and exclaim that he stole Yuan from him. But Yuhu immediately tells him not to disgrace himself. On the contrary, it was he who took Lin Yuan away. Then Zhao Shan asks if he wants to fight. Cheng Yuhu also replies decisively he can do it, he is not afraid of him. Gradually they move further away and Yuan no longer understands what they are talking about. Xiao Hailong happily congratulates. The system has just rated his beast soul as a general rank, 1 silver chest has been obtained. Lin Yuan should quickly open it and see what's in there. This is his first silver chest. Yuan sighs and looks away. At this moment, Su Muzu runs up to him and exclaims that Lin Yuan is very cool, now he is #1 in the city and popular universities are fighting for him. So what will he choose? After all, he had gained their favor through talent and grades. She thinks he should choose either Yanjing University or Beast University in Mo City. Doesn't he want to go where she does? Yuan replies that would be cool, she would take care of him. But he will still think about it. Muzu adds that, objectively, Yanjing University is stronger, but she will choose a university in Mo City. Yuan clarifies why. Su Muzu looks away and answers because there are people in Yanjing that she doesn't want to see. Yuan doesn't think this is a good topic for her to talk about. After some time, Lin Yuan was at home and sat near the bed holding an open chest in his hands. At this time, Xiao Hailong quickly flew from one of his shoulders to the other and exclaimed, 10,000 evolution points. And also a general rank weapon, the Flame Claw. When it attacks an enemy, fire appears on its claws, which deals extra damage. Lin Yuan looked at it and noted that it was not bad. Hearing this, Hailong crossed his arms and asked indignantly, what does good mean? This is very cool. Weapons are divided by rank into War Beast, General, Beastmaster, Lord and Emperor. A weapon of his level costs hundreds of thousands of coins. Yuan was very surprised, so expensive. But Xiao Hailong explained that it was still cheap. Anything above the Beastmaster rank can reach a value of tens of millions of coins. If they are lucky, they will become rich in the future. Lord as soon as possible. Suddenly Hailong asked him what he thought about universities. Lin Yuan asked what information he has. Hailong immediately replied that Yanjing University trains strong masters, and the university in the city has mega strong masters. Besides, it seems to him that Yuan will like it there. Yuan asked why. Because they put military affairs above all else. Everything is based on strength. They created 3 special rankings, Hiding Dragon, Master of Beasts and God of Beasts. All resources are distributed according to the rating. If Yanjing University is a greenhouse for strong masters, then the university can be a cruel coliseum. Yuan immediately asked, Coliseum. He then wondered if one person would ultimately be more valuable than millions of people, then why couldn't he be that person? He then exclaimed that he was choosing the Beast University in Mo City. After a while, Cheng Yuhu bursts into Zhao Shan's office with a loud scream. Shan smiles sweetly and asks him what he needs. Lin Yuan has already applied to their school, he has no chance. In response to this, Yuhu answers him angrily, he shouldn't brag, he respects this guy's choice. Did Musu join them too? He asks again, the news reached him very quickly, does he know it? Cheng Yuhu also furiously replies that he more than just knows her. When she arrives at the university, he must take care of her. He must also remember that he warned him. Its origins are complex. At this moment, Shan remembers when Lin Yuan and Su Muzu were sitting opposite him and Yuan asked when he could get the scholarship. Clarified, usually after enrolling in the course, but he can apply for it in advance and he will be able to receive the scholarship soon. He then points at Muzu and asks what about her. Does she also need to apply in advance? She replies with displeasure that this is not necessary. Zhao Shan thinks, indeed, she looks better than Lin Yuan. Yuhu replies that he cannot tell him all the details, he just has to take care of her. 3 days later, Yuan stands in front of the Beast Soul Palace and says to Hailong, he didn't expect the scholarship to come so quickly, as well as subsidies of 500,000 coins, 20 high-quality crystals, 5 Beast Soul capsules and a general rank Blackthorn armor weapon. Hailong replies that this equipment makes his scales harder, while at the same time his spine will be covered with spikes, which will protect him from injury. It seems that the university still highly appreciates his abilities. Yuan grins and thinks, it's not the equipment that matters, but the subsidy of 500,000 coins. For this money you can get 5,000 low-quality crystals and 5 million evolution points. When he comes to exchange coins for crystals, the man asks menacingly, does he want to exchange money for low-quality crystals again? How much do you need this time? Yuan replies that he will buy 500,000. The man can't believe it. What? After some time, the loader shouts to the driver of the car, completely filled with bags, that everything has been loaded. Yuan, sitting in the car, waves to the man and thanks him. The man politely replies that there is no need for gratitude. When Lin Yuan leaves, he thinks he bought so much. Is he going to feed this to the pigs? After some time, Lin Yuan sat on her bed surrounded by bags of low-quality crystals and was indignant. It was inconvenient to tell the driver the address of the secret warehouse, so he brought everything home. How long will it take to maintain a state of fusion to absorb it all? Xiao Hailong suggests that he stay at home and absorb it in human form. Yuan immediately asks, is this possible? Don't you need to merge with the animal soul to absorb the energy of the crystals? Hailong explains that this is usually how it happens, but he has a system. He can use this to absorb the crystal in human form. Then Lin Yuan exclaims, why didn't he say this before? Hailong explains, it's just that the absorption rate will be a little slower, but compared to the enormous energy spent on maintaining the beast's form, this is the best option. Then Lin Yuan sits on the bed and concentrates and begins to absorb the energy of the crystals. Moments later, Xiao Hailong happily congratulates him. He has successfully swallowed the nuclear radiation. Received 1000 evolution points. Lin Yuan begins to think it took 15 minutes. True, a little slower than during transformation. You need to speed up to absorb all 500 pieces. On average, this works out to 84 pieces per day. When night falls, Lin Yuan continues to sit on the bed and absorb the energy of the crystals. Xiao Hailong happily announces that his body has mutated in the process of absorbing nuclear radiation and is now able to resist it. Yuan clarifies immunity to radiation. Hailong explains that with such an ability he is not afraid of any concentrations of nuclear radiation. Lin Yuan then understands that in order to destroy the monsters, nuclear weapons were used in many areas. Now his body will not be affected by these polluted restricted areas. Beautiful. There are still 2 months ahead. He must swallow all the crystals and increase his strength as quickly as possible. He replies with a smile that this is good. After some time, a meeting was held in the conference hall of the Mo City Animal University. Director Wang Ting sat at the head of the table and said that they had all been working hard these days. At the moment, the recruitment of students at their university has been successfully completed. This year's freshmen are even more worthy than in previous years, and not only their university, but also other prestigious institutions had incredible talents and geniuses at their disposal. But the process of waiting until they grow up is really too expensive. If he has to wait until then, he is afraid that he will already retire. Then he gets up and continues, so he discussed with the directors of other universities the issue that concerned him and decided to hold a national freshman competition to find out which of these talents is the real beast. Conference room at the University of Mo. A lot of people started talking about whether it would be a good idea to hold a competition so that talent from different universities could come together and compete against each other. A good opportunity to show students that there is always someone an order of magnitude higher. But freshmen shouldn't waste time on this, right? Ting said, in fact, everything has already been decided, everyone can participate, and he hopes that they will provide him with a list. One of the employees turned to the director and asked how many people should be registered. He replied that there should be approximately 12 people, 10 main and 2 in reserve. In his opinion, it is better to choose according to the Kailong ranking. There is nothing superfluous in this. According to one of the 3 lists, newly arrived students can also challenge. If they follow the Kailong list, there may be omissions because it only determines actual fighting ability. This is what happened with Song Lan, the champion of Mo City. His animal soul multicolored glass butterfly is an auxiliary type. Although he had reached the 7-star beast general, if he fought alone, he would be at a disadvantage. Maybe he can't get into the top 10 of the Kailong list. Does that mean Song Lan is weak? If he teamed up with a fellow 9-star beast soul of the general rank, then his abilities could rival the beast king rank. The man raised his hand again, stood up from his seat and shouted, "Director, he understands what he means. He uses the Kailong ranking as a guide, but does not adhere to it completely. After all, there can be fights in pairs in the competition, right?" Director Ting shouted back, "That's right, this is the first national competition and it will be broadcast to the whole country, so he hopes that everyone will offer their best and strive to surpass them." The staff understood the instructions and said that everything would be done. A staff member approaches Mr. Zhao and asks, is he very happy with the new students this time? Will he let you look at it? He took the tablet from his hands and said with an enthusiastic look, "This young lady named Sumuzu, she is very good." "Wait, why are they even recruiting E-rank talents?" Shan asked to look below. He scrolled a little and suddenly shouted in incredible surprise, "Student Lin Yuan, Beast Soul Black Lizard, Talent E-rank, Level 10 exam results. How is this possible?" Shan said in response that if he had not been an examiner, he would never have believed it, because this was his first participation in the test. The man asked again, "What's so special about him?" Shan replied, asking him again, could it be that he is a genius? He is looking forward to seeing his strength after training. Meanwhile, night had fallen outside, and a bright purple light was shining in the window of Yuan's apartment. He sat on the bed and absorbed low-level crystals. Lung said, flying around him, in human terms, he, like a monk, cultivates, does not move for a whole month. In the process of absorbing nuclear radiation, He mastered the S-level nuclear breathing skill. Yuan asked him again, nuclear breathing. He replied, breathing nuclear energy can emit light particles with nuclear radiation. Infrared rays can reach 55 degrees Celsius. Does he want to spend 1 million evolution points on training? He shouted back with complete confidence, of course. It is profitable to exchange 1 million evolution points for an S-level skill. Wang shouted he had successfully acquired the S-level nuclear breathing skill. This month he absorbed 25 O crystals. Now he has 1,500,000 evolution points. Yuan said back to him as he sees the monk's practice is worth it. He offers to see how much these evolution points can improve his level. Let him spend 500,000 evolution points to improve his body. For a monster, size is the most important thing. Lung answered him, okay. After that, Yuan again asked him to increase the hardness of the scale armor by 200,000 points, the sharpness of the claws by 200,000, and the power of the nuclear reactor by 300,000 points. He should increase it. At that moment, a system window appeared in front of him. He carefully examined it and Lun shouted to him that he was now the leader among the masters of the beast general level. A little more and he would become a king. Yuan replied that he thought that 1,500,000 points would help him get to the king level in one go, but in the end he managed to jump from 3 stars to 7. Maybe he's just too greedy. Lung replied, pointing to the bags, that he still had 2,500 crystals left. If he absorbed all of them, he could get at least 2,500,000 evolution points. He doesn't know if this number of points is enough for him to break through to the Beast King level in one go. He didn't expect that from the general level, his cultivation would be in the millions. The higher the level, the more points required. Lung shouted, even if this doesn't work out, then high-quality crystals and capsules can be sold and replaced with low-quality crystals. Yuan raised his hand up and shouted, yes, the goal before training begins is the rank of the King of Beasts. A month later, the railway platform. Yuan holds a ticket in his hand. Someone shouts to him, Lin Yuan. It was Muzu, who waved to him and approached with a suitcase and walked along with Shan. He asked, Teacher Zhao, why is he here? He replied with a smile that he had returned home on business and would just pick them up and take them to the university. They should go. Yuan replied, okay. After some time, they went inside the carriage and Muzu asked what he had been doing for 2 months. He didn't respond to any messages. Yuan spoke in response. All this time he was practicing. He was not allowed to contact anyone. She must have been training too. She answered, of course. She not only reached the rank of general, but also received 3 stars. 2 months ago, he was the rank of a 3-star general and now he has become stronger, so no matter how hard she tries, she will not be able to catch up with him. Yuan replied, she is already very strong and her level has increased significantly. At this moment, Shan reported that they had arrived at the right place. He opened the doors and they entered a room with all the amenities, which Muzu was surprised at. Yuan thought about it when he stepped inside. Regular seats on this train cost more than 100,000, and Teacher Zhao has a separate room? A Lord Rank Master is treated specially. Shan replied that if everything goes well, they will arrive at the university in the evening. Yuan asked him again, what does it mean if everything goes well? He replied with a serious look, along the way there might be monsters fighting each other. They call it the Beast Tide. Accidents mainly occur when 100 beasts or several Lord Rank monsters attack the train, sometimes even King ranks are caught. Yuan replied that this sounded very dangerous. Muzu turned around in such surprise and became wary of these words. Shan continued to say that they shouldn't worry. The likelihood of them appearing was extremely low anyway. If this happens, he will try to detain them so that they and the people on the train can escape. Even against the Emperor's level, he can hold out for 5 minutes. Yuan became wary and thought, with the strength of Zhao Shan, he can only hold back the Emperor rank for 5 minutes. It looks like this rank is much more terrifying than he imagined. At that moment, some loud noises occurred on the train. A man ran into their room and shouted, Mr. Zhao, 10 kilometers away the radar detected that a flock of animals was approaching them at high speed. After which he continued to say in a trembling voice that he was afraid that in 10 minutes they would collide with a train. He was very frightened and grabbed Shan by the clothes with all his might. Shan asked him again, how big is the Beast Tide? He replied, 3 Beast Kings, more than 50 generals, and about 300 war beasts. The other 2 Beast Soul Masters hurried to meet them. Shan turned to the guys and asked if they wanted to go together. The tide is small, they can consider this as a model of real combat before starting training. Yuan replied, okay, and Muzu shouted, then she will go. The train stopped abruptly and Shan and his students got out. Shan asked Yuan, pointing his hand to the side, if he could ride one. He replied, it shouldn't be a big problem. Muzu said that she had never seen anything like this. Shan said, it's okay, she will go with Lin Yuan, let them follow him. He grabbed the brightly glowing transport and rushed into the distance. Yuan said, he just ran away. How irresponsible that is. He got on an equally long vehicle that resembled a motorcycle and asked Muzu to sit with him. She sat down and asked Yuen, does he really know how to manage this? He said no, but he doesn't think it's difficult. He'll learn as they go. After that, he sharply pressed the gas pedal and they rushed into the distance at incredible speed. He thought as he continued driving that it was almost like riding a motorcycle. After some time, they caught up with Shan in the desert area and Yuen asked a question, Teacher Zhao, should there be a wave of beasts ahead? He shouted back that he would remind them before he entered into battle that if they encounter a beast that is beyond their strength, then they need to get as far away from it as possible and not waste time. These are not training fights, their safety comes first. Merging with the animal soul. With this cry, he rushed to run towards the growling monsters. Yuen looked at his transformation into a huge and growling bear beast, which other wolves began to surround. Yuen and Muzu became wary and watched what was happening, dumbfounded. The monster's entire body lit up with a bright glowing light and he used the Earth Claw spell. Then he hit the ground with his fist and created several cracks on the way to the wolves, after which the ground began to split and the wolves fell inside the huge crack that appeared. And a moment later the gap closed back. Yuen thought in surprise, he split the earth. Since the beast's soul master is capable of this, then the rank of emperor, moving mountains and dividing seas, can change the world. The wolves rushed to run towards them. Muzu used the fusion spell and rose up, and Yuen did the same. They turned into monsters and began to fight the attacking wolves using their skills. Muzu launched an ice wave at one of the wolves, and Yuen destroyed the enemy with his sharp claws. After that, one of the monsters got closer to Yuen from the back. Muzu turned around sharply and noticed this, after which she shouted at him to run and sent many ice shards towards the monster, but these shards crashed against the incredible defense of this creature, and the monster continued to approach him. It's all useless. He used the red flame claw spell and sent his powers towards the approaching monster. The creature was bloody and was thrown back with a crash. Muzu thought as she watched what was happening. This porcupine, at least at the last stage of the general rank, Lin Yuen attacked this in one blow. How strong is he? The train continued to travel at high speed. One of the crew members asked the commander to take a look and asked the question, is the detection radar out of order? The commander asked him again in surprise, is he out of order? But how is this possible? The guy asked again, aren't the purple dots supposed to be the kings of the beasts? The commander shouted to him to wait, because something was going wrong. There were only 3 kings, so where did the 4th point come from? After his words, it disappeared from the radar and he shouted, no. It looks like this is a king of beasts that can hide its presence. They must immediately report this to the soul masters on the front lines. At this moment, one of the masters on the front line was already destroyed by another monster, whose paws were covered in blood. It bent down towards the master, after which the blood of this man appeared in the creature's mouth. Muzu asked Lin Yuen how many general rank beasts did they kill. He replied that he didn't know and suggested that it was about 10. At that moment, some kind of magical light appeared behind her, which began to create a vortex. She turned around sharply and became very alert. A dark purple light was approaching her. It was a monster that roared loudly at her and came closer with bright red eyes. Muzu looked at this with fear and was dumbfounded. But at that moment Yuen shouted at her to close her eyes, otherwise blood would get in. At that moment, he struck at the approaching monster and deftly destroyed it. All the blood of this creature spilled out in a scarlet stream and the monster fell to the ground. Wong reported that this beast master is the best at stealth. Yuen replied, it seems they were misinformed as there is another monster. Muzu asked him in bewilderment, did he say? He stared at the monster, who rose from the ground and said, this is a cowardly mongrel who can only hide. Will it also bark at him? At that moment, the monster disappeared from his eyes and they began to turn around. Muzu asked Yuen to be careful, it could appear anywhere. At this moment, the monster appeared directly above the transformed body of Yuen, who sharply turned around and struck the monster again, which sent its paw with sharp claws towards his body. Yuen turned around and asked the question, did he decide to scratch his back? At that moment, he pierced his paw right through and a lot of blood was spilled from this monster, causing it to growl loudly in pain, after which it was dumbfounded when it noticed that Yuen had grabbed it in his hands and asked the question, now is it his turn? He grinned and began to crush the monster in his hands. The monster was scared but could not move, and Yuen opened his mouth and shouted, let it taste his nuclear breath. A bright blue light lit up in his mouth and he directed this flame directly into the mouth of his opponent, after which everything around shone with a bright light and many bright flashes occurred. Muzu stood aside and watched what was happening. Also nearby was Shan, who was very surprised and dumbfounded. Yuen transformed back into his human form, grabbed the purple crystal from the ground and wondered, I wonder how much the Beastmaster crystal core could be sold for. Shan came closer to him and shouted, asking in surprise, how did he kill it? Yuen asked again, didn't he see? Shan asked him to be honest, what level is his strength now? He replied, looking away, that he had just broken through to the rank of Overlord, so he was a 1-star Beastmaster. Shan opened his mouth in shock and wondered how he did it. During the test, he had a 3-star general. How did he grow so much in 2 months? He whispered in his ear, "Teacher, he has a secret, just don't tell anyone about it. In fact, it can absorb the nuclear radiation from lower soul crystals." At this moment, Muzu ran up to him and asked with a frightened expression, "Lin Yuan, is he okay?" He waved his hand and said with a calm expression, "Yes." She thanked him and said that if he had not done this, it would have been the end for her. He said in response, "In reality she is very strong, she was just scared and lost her composure." Shan told him, after all, this was her first time encountering such a situation, and it is normal for a person to be nervous. She turned to the teacher and shouted, "Lin Yuan is right, unforeseen situations on the battlefield can happen at any time, she must try harder so as not to set her comrades up." After that, he and Yuan smiled at each other. Shan looked at them and thought that they were truly extraordinary. Evening, sunset. The train continued on its way. Shan walked into the guy's room and saw Muzu lying on the bed and Yuan looking out the window, and he thought that he didn't expect that this guy could absorb her nuclear radiation as energy. A genius among all the Beast Soul Masters, as the director said, an exceptional talent. He approached Yuan and said that he had collected loot in this vault badge. When he was in the Beast Soul Palace, he would sell everything and give the money to him. Yuan asked him again, "Storage icon?" He answered, "Yes, he's never used one like that." He can apply for the same, but for 10 cubic meters of space he will have to pay 1 million. With this money, he should better buy lower crystals, and he can borrow the badge if necessary. Yuan took the badge in his hands and thanked him for telling him about it. This thing might be useful to him, so he will think about buying it in the future. Shan asked him not to worry, in their university, real talents are not deprived of resources. If he can enter the top 10 of the Qianlong rankings, he will be able to choose a private room in the dormitory, and he will also have the opportunity to represent Mo City Beast University at the national competition. He asked loudly out of surprise, "Qianlong rating." He understood. At this moment, Muzu tried to open her eyes slightly, stood up and said, "Teacher, the university is so rich and the dorm rooms are designed for several people. It will be inconvenient for them to practice." He replied, "The dormitory is a place to sleep and relax. Students can visit training rooms for free, which are open 24 hours a day." Yuan thought that he was lucky that there were such premises, otherwise he would have been quickly discovered. He took a deep breath and Shan said, "If she still wants a separate bedroom, she can donate 5 million to the school." Yuan was very surprised and shouted, "5 million. This is too much." Muzu screamed, "So little." Yuan was very surprised by her reaction. He looked at her carefully and thought, wondering, so who is she? Animal University of Mo City, dormitory. Yuan walked to the door and thought, before conquering the Qianlong ranking, he would first settle in the dormitory. It's good that Su Muzu decided to use housing from the university, although she has money, but she can't spend it like that. Some unfamiliar guy opened the door for him with a smile on his face and asked, "Is he a new roommate?" He greeted him and said that his name was Zhao Ming. His beast soul is an 8-winged serpent and he is a freshman. Yuan entered the room and said that his name was Lin Yuan and he was from Zhenhai City. Another guy in the room asked him again, "So is he the talented guy? Does he still have a ranky beast soul?" Yuan asked him again, "Does he know him?" The guy answered no, but he read his dossier, he's cool. He was eating a packet of chips and kept talking to him. Yuan asked him again, did he see his file? But where? Can anyone review the personal data of freshmen? The guy replied, he has his own methods. There is nothing in the university that he, Wang Jinzi, does not know. Ning sat down at the computer desk and said with a smile on his face, this chubby guy is very good at absorbing information. Jinzi said that he could talk about anything that interests him. But of course, information has a price, it's not customary to say such an obvious thing. He continued to eat a packet of chips, approached him and asked, then what is his place in the Qianlong ranking? He realized that he was an informant. Jin Jai answered him, buddy, today is only the first day at the university. How can you find out the list so quickly? But if he is so interested, he can give another one, which includes all the freshmen who are most likely to be in the top 10 of the ranking. Yuan asked him how much he would sell it for. He answered with a smile on his face, since he is a roommate, he will give a 20% discount, a total of 4,000 coins from him. He already wanted to tell the card number, but at that moment the Yuan interrupted the hearing and thought, he is a good informant, but from where does he have such a thing? He sat down at the computer and saw on the table a piece of paper on which it was written, Shen Kang, Awakened Beast Soul, White Fang, Strength 1 Star Beast Master. Chen Mu, Awakened Beast Soul, King by Demonic Tree, Strength 9 Star Beast General. Wuxuangu, Awakened Beast Soul, King of the Golden Winged Centipedes, Strength 3 Star Beast Master. Zhao Ming, Awakened Beast Soul 8-Winged Serpent. Power 8 Star Beast General, Song Lan, Awakening Beast Soul, Colorful Glass Butterfly, Power 2 Star Beast Master. Yuan thought about it, there are so many hidden geniuses at Mo City University, half of the freshmen are already overlords. Zhao Ming, who seemed cheerful to him, is an 8-star beast general. I wonder what kind of strength Wang Jinjai has. At that moment, one of the guys shouted, the last roommate has arrived. The door opened and a tall, muscular guy entered their room, who greeted them with a menacing expression on his face and said that his name was Song Lan. He is pleased to meet them. The guys looked at him silently and thought how evil he was. Ming addressed him by name and said, he is this year's champion in Mo City. Jinjai shouted with a surprised expression on his face how lucky he was that he lived in the same room as the winner. Yuan wondered, is he Song Lan? If he remembers correctly, then his animal soul is a multicolored glass butterfly. His talent rating is SSS rank. Jinjai reached out to him and shouted, buddy, if he is interested in any information, he will give him a 20% discount. If he himself knows something useful, then he will buy it at a reasonable price. Nin asked to stop bargaining and offered to have lunch. What does he think about this, Lin Yuan? Yuan turned around and replied with a smile on his face that he didn't mind. After which he thought, yes, his neighbors are not simple, one is an 8-star general, and the other is a 2-star overlord, the third is an informant. They went out into the street together. Ming walked a little ahead and said that he had always dreamed of entering this university and now he managed to do it. He feels like he's sleeping now. Jinjai asked him not to daydream when the time came to pay the bills. At this moment, there were 2 girls not far from them, one of whom was Muzu. Ming looked at them in love, and Jinjai said, this girl on the left is called Yu King Q. Her beast soul is S rank, Snow Silkworm. And the girl on the right is called Su Muzu, S rank beast soul, 9-tailed snow fox. Min looked at him in surprise and asked how he knew everything in such detail. He replied, this is the power of information, he does not understand this. At that moment, Muzu noticed them, after which she suddenly raised her hand and began waving her yuan and shouting that they had not seen each other for a long time. She came closer to him along with her friend. He extended his hand to her and asked what she was talking about. They saw each other during the day, but separated not so long ago. Muzu grinned and said, indeed, this is Yu King Q, her roommate. He greeted her and Jinju was very surprised that they knew each other. Nin grinned at him and asked if he wasn't their informant. Why didn't he know about this? He shouted back that he was collecting information, not matchmaking. How does he know what's going on between them? Yuan decided to introduce his friends and said, turning to the guys, that these were his neighbors, Wang Jinjai, Zhaoming and Song Lan. Jinjai came closer and said that they were going to eat together. Do they want to do this to them? Muzu grabbed her friend's arm, turned the other way and with a smile on her face replied that it wouldn't be today. She agreed to have lunch with her neighbor, so some other time. Yuan answered her, okay, after which they said goodbye and went their separate ways. Jinjai suddenly started shouting and asking Yuan how he met Su Muzu. It looks like they are quite close to each other. He turned to him and asked, is there still something he doesn't know? If he wants, he can sell this information to him at a 20% discount as a neighbor. Jinjai was greatly surprised by this and was dumbfounded. Yuan looked up at the sky and thought life on campus would be fun. 2 hours later, he was sitting on the floor in the lotus position with his eyes closed. Magic sparks shone around him and he thought even if he wanted to go back to the dorm and relax there, but he couldn't relax, there were a lot of cool students at the university. Long shouted to him, there is a high concentration of energy here, it is good for practice. Yuan replied, this is a free room for entry-level training, and there is a paid room for intermediate and high level. This is where the concentration of energy should be higher, but the rooms are too expensive. A mid-level room costs 1,000 and a high-level room costs 5,000. Lun put on his glasses, crossed his arms and looked out the system window, after which he said, what a coincidence, he absorbed all the low-level crystals, only the high-quality ones in the animal soul capsule remained. Yuan pointed his finger at him and shouted, he suggests checking how many evolution points he will get by absorbing a high-quality crystal. He did this and Moon congratulated him for getting 1,000 evolution points. Yuan was upset and said with a dissatisfied expression on his face, but the result is exactly the same as when absorbing low-quality crystals. He wasted 10,000 coins. Lun flew closer to him and said that nothing bad had happened. He still had the capsule. He put the capsule in his mouth, after which a moment later a bright spark appeared in his stomach, from which many light rays emanated. Long was very surprised and congratulated him again on the fact that he had successfully absorbed the beast's soul capsule. He had received a new talent. He raised his hand up and spun several times with joy, and Yuan looked up in surprise and wondered if he had a talent count in his characteristics. Are these hidden parameters? Long continued to loudly inform him the talent could increase the absorption rate by about 5%. Yuan answered quietly, looking down to the side, and it's true that he feels that he is absorbing energy faster. Lung shouted, plus, since he is there, he doesn't have to limit himself to taking 1 capsule a month. Let him absorb as much as he can. Yuan said, the animal soul capsule is a good thing, but too expensive, the price for 1 piece is 50,000. The next day, within the walls of the university dormitory, Yuan woke up, got up from the bed, looked around and said, it's only morning, but where are these 2? Jinjai, who was sorting through the papers on the table, answered him, it must not be in the training room. Yuan realized that it seemed that he was not the only person who was training diligently. He needs to go to the Beast Soul Palace and buy a batch of inferior crystals. He picked up the phone and said hello to someone who called him. The man on the phone greeted him and asked, is he awake? He should come for the money. After some time, he met with Shan on the street and he spoke, all the crystal cores have been collected. The portion given to him is 2.2 million. Yuan, with the phone in his hand, looked at the Shan phone and wondered how much it was. This will just solve his problem. Shan spoke in addition. In addition, he exchanged 1 million for 10,000 lower soul crystals. The crystals and the rest of the money are in this badge. He will lend it to him for a while. Yuan thanked him for this, calling him a teacher. And at that moment, he looked into his eyes and thought, Zhao Shan is really the person he can trust. After which a smile appeared on his face and he asked the teacher if he could help him with something. He wants to exchange the remaining 1.2 million for an animal soul capsule. This money is enough to buy 24 pieces, which would last for 2 years. Shan asked him again, so why does he need so much? He asked him not to worry and said that he knew the right amount. Shan replied, well, okay, as soon as there is time, he will go to the palace of the animal soul. And he should train hard. The Qianlong ranking will be announced soon. Suddenly he patted him on the shoulder and began to raise his voice and say, if he gets into the top 10, he will try to get him a place as a representative of their university in the competition. Yuan replied with a serious expression that he understood everything and thought his goal is not to get into the top 10 rankings, but to be in first place on the list. A little later, he was back in the training room, studying hard alone, except for the presence of the moons nearby, who congratulated him on successfully absorbing nuclear radiation, gaining 1,000 evolution points, this time in just 10 minutes. Yuan continued to sit silently and with his eyes closed, but suddenly asked a question, is it because of the 5 reward capsules that were absorbed? This means that not only the rate of absorption of energy from the air increases, but also the rate of assimilation of crystals. Long spoke in response with a surprised expression on his face. Honestly, he himself is not sure. When the teacher sends a batch of capsules, he will be able to check it. Yuan grabbed the purple capsule in his hands and shouted with a menacing expression on his face, yes, they will continue to absorb the crystals to increase their strength. Time passes, days follow each other, some more time passed. A few days later, Yuan walked into the dorm room with a bag of groceries in his hand. His neighbors were all in the room and standing opposite each other. Yuan came in and asked the question, is today a special day? Why are they all here? At this moment, he thought about the fact that usually these 3 leave early and return very late. Well, except for Wang Jinjai, who collects information all day long. Jinjai told him, today is the freshman meeting. Was he so caught up in training that he even forgot about it? Yuan shouted back with a surprised expression on his face, he really forgot about it. Jinjai smiled and shouted, the 3 of them are training like monsters. Do they really want to be in the top 10? Ning shouted back, come on, with his 9-star general, he can only enter the top 100. But Song Lan with his strength will definitely be able to enter the top 10, right? Lan spoke in response, scratching the back of his head, although he is a ruler, his soul is auxiliary, he is bad in battle. Besides, there are a lot of talents in the university, so he is not sure. Yuan thought as he watched the conversation going on, it looks like the competition this year will be very fierce. He must train a lot. After some time, the guys entered the huge assembly hall. Jinjai turned to Yuan and said that he heard that Principal Wang Ting would give a special speech at the freshman meeting. He is the Beast Emperor. His attendance will show that students are very important to the university, so he doesn't know. This year there will be a national competition among the first class from famous universities. The director attaches great importance to the selection of students who will represent their university at competitions. Shan touched Yuan's shoulder, who abruptly turned to him and asked, Teacher Zhao, why is he here? He replied that teachers should also participate in the freshman meeting. After that, he turned his attention to the guys who were sitting next to him and asked if they must be his neighbors. Jinjai turned to him and said that he had admired him for a long time. Yuan pointed his finger at him and said that this was his neighbor, after which he spoke his name and said that he specialized in collecting information. Shan asked him again, collecting information, after which he laughed and said that he was very similar to his father. Jinjai smiled and thanked him for his praise, calling him a teacher. Yuan turned to him and asked with a surprised expression on his face what was happening. Do they know each other? Shan replied, his dad is a very famous person. He will soon find out about it himself, and now it's time for him to go. Ning asked Jinjai who he was. Jinjai replied, this is the Zhao Shan Big Furious Bear, an 8-star Lord rank beast soul, one of the promising candidates for the Emperor rank. At that moment he asked to look at the stage where the director appeared. Director Wang Ting has arrived. At this moment, Yuan looked at Jinjai in fear and wondered, wait, his name is Wang Ting. So is Wang Jinjai really his son? Incredible. Wang Ting walked onto the stage and spoke loudly with confidence in his eyes. He greets the teachers and students. He is the director of Mo City Animal University, Wang Ting. He is glad to see them all here. They are freshmen of their university and also a great hope. Soon the Qianlong ranking will be officially opened. They will face the first stage of the struggle. The higher the rating, the more generous rewards they will receive. Fate is always in their hands. Talent doesn't mean anything. As long as they fight, they can change their destiny. The strong must fight. Most City Beast University is the institution with the highest mortality rate. But since each of them chose them, it means that there are no soft-bodied weaklings and cowards here. Ladies and gentlemen, do they realize this? All the students shouted loudly together, yes. The list is posted. The system window reports, first place, Wuxuangu, Awakened Beast Soul, King of the Golden Winged Centipedes. Second place, Shen Tseng, Awakened Beast Soul, Whitefang. Third place, Wang Linghu, Awakened Beast Soul, Red Flame Tiger. 10th place, Song Lin, Awakened Animal Soul, Multicolored Glass Butterfly. Wang Jinjai's information turned out to be useful, the assumptions were correct. Then where is he located? After some time, he notices that he occupies only 312th place. His Awakened Animal Soul is a large black lizard. He realized with sadness that he was ranked very low. Lin Yuan continues to look at the list and thinks that Most City Beast University really has a lot of super talented students. He was ranked that way only after 10 rounds of testing. But what are the rules for ranking Qianlong? Suddenly Xiao Hailong appears over his shoulder and joyfully shouts that he knows. The first rule is that only a low rank can challenge a high rank, and the gap in ranks cannot exceed 20. The second rule is that every day you can challenge only once. The first 3 times you cannot refuse a challenge thrown to a person. The third rule is that each participant has the opportunity once a week to challenge an opponent with a gap in rating of up to 100 ranks. The fourth rule is that the use of illegal drugs is prohibited. The weapon used must correspond to its own level. The fifth rule is that if one of the parties admits defeat during the fight or is no longer able to fight, the fight will immediately end. According to their position on the list now, it would take about 16 days to get to the top. If they add that there is an opportunity once a week to challenge an opponent with a rating gap of up to 100 ranks, then the time can be cut in half. Suddenly Yuan hears someone in the crowd asking where is this Wuxuangu? Did he take first place as soon as the list was posted? In response, the other man exclaims, if after 7 days he remains in first place, then he will admire him. The girl adds that in 3 days there will be serious changes in the ranking. Lin Yuan hears this and thinks, indeed, there will be many people competing for a higher position. The situation will become tense, and because of this, he will not be able to concentrate on training. At this moment, his roommates approach him and Zhao Ming turns to Wang Jinzi and notes that Lin Yuan is strange. At such a time he continues to calmly train. Jinzi replies that he wanted to buy information from him for 1 million, but he refused. He then remembers how Yuan told him that when he reaches the top of the Qianlong rankings, then they can once again discuss the price of his information. Wang Jinzi looks after Yuan as he leaves and thinks, obviously, his goal is to fight for first place in the ranking. What terrifying power does he have? After a while, Xiao Hailong looks forward in surprise and asks, this capsule that Zhao Shan sent, there are 24 of them in total. Lin Yuan holds a large amount of pills in his palm and explains that he will try to do it in parts. He then abruptly eats all 10 pieces that were in his palm. Immediately afterwards he feels a great surge of strength. Hailong congratulated him several times on his successful takeover. He received +1 talent. He received 10 talent points. Yuan notes that it is obvious that the absorption rate has increased greatly. Now we need to check if the rate of fusion with crystals will also be increased. After that, he takes one of the crystals and begins to merge with it. 7 minutes later, Xiao Hailong happily congratulates Lin Yuan for successfully absorbing nuclear radiation. He has received 1000 evolution points. Lin Yuan looks at the screen with a smile and answers, it's already 7 minutes, before it was 10 minutes. His guesses turned out to be correct. The absorption efficiency also increased. Suddenly the phone rang. Yuan picks up the phone and answers the call. He listens. The voice on the phone announces that in 10 minutes Wuxuangu and Wang Linghu will fight in the 3rd arena. Need to hurry. Yuan asks again with delight. The 1st and 3rd places will fight. He will come soon. After some time, he comes to the number 3 arena of the Most City Beast University. As soon as he enters the audience, someone shouts at him to come here. Lin Yuan turns to see Zhao Shan waving at him. He comes closer and the man next to him notes that Shan treats this guy like a treasure, even bringing him to competitions. Maybe I should tie a rope to it. Zhao Shan immediately replies, Meng Chang'an, it would be better to help those in need than to talk incessantly. He then introduces Chang'an Yuan and says that this is his friend. He is one of the teachers. Lin Yuan greets him. Meng Chang'an immediately asks, is he Lin Yuan? Zhao Shan constantly talks about him. Has he chosen a mentor yet? Why shouldn't he become his student? Shan jokingly exclaims, he called Chang'an to watch the fight, they are poaching students. Then Meng Chang'an turns to him and asks, by the way, which of these two has a better chance of winning? But Shan frowningly answers how he can know if he is not familiar with them. Chang'an then turns to Yuan and asks him what he thinks. Yuan also replies that he doesn't know them either. At this moment people start exclaiming that they are out. Need to watch it soon. This is the 3rd in the ranking of Wang Linghu. And opposite, the 1st on the list is Wuxuangu. The host announces that in this fight, Wang Linghu, ranked 3rd, will fight Wuxuangu, ranked 1st on the Qianlong list. The battle begins. Then the host leaves and Gu asks Ling Hu with crossed arms. He challenged him first. Did Wuxu and Gu think he was a coward? In response to this, Gu shouted that the first place belonged to him. Then Gu asked with a sly smile, right. Then he should teach him a lesson since Ling Hu is so confident. After this he begins to merge with the animal soul. Lin Yuan sees this and exclaims in his mind, this is the SSS rank Golden Winged Centipede King. His suppressive strength is at least Overlord rank. At this time, Wang Ling Hu looks back menacingly and exclaims, it looks like there is an opponent here that he will be looking forward to. He then also uses Beast Soul Fusion. Lin Yuan watches this carefully and notes, Wang Ling Hu is also a Beast Master. Will he win? At this time, Zhao Shan and Meng Chang'an are closely watching the battle. Chang'an, thoughtfully, says that these children are full of energy. At their age he could only dream of such strength. Shan notes that they have already raised this issue. This year's freshmen are far from simple, one is better than the other. Suddenly a menacing roar of a tiger is heard, which opens its mouth wide and shoots a fiery ray directly at Wuxu and Gu. He sees this but repels the attack. Gu then asks Ling Hu, is this all he can do? But Wang Ling Hu begins to run forward and shouts not to delude himself, but to win first. Then he pushes off and jumps high. The king of the Golden Winged Centipede sees this and is very surprised, freezing in place. The tiger attacks him and starts attacking. Lin Yuan watches this closely and notes that the red flame tiger Wang Ling Hu is superior to his opponent in strength, speed, agility, and explosive power. There is a chance that even Wuxu and Gu will not be able to dodge him as it is. Meng Chang'an also notes that Wang Ling Hu acts cautiously, testing the enemy from a long distance, then quickly closing in and catching him off guard. Zhao Shan adds, this guy's fighting experience is simply amazing. Meng Chang'an asks thoughtfully, observing the situation, wondering, does Wuxu and Gu really deserve the first place on the Qianlong list? Shan looks towards Yuan and asks if he is afraid to look. The fight for the top of the rankings will be very difficult. Chang'an continues to think, with the soul of an E-rank beast, entering the university is by no means easy, but is his desire to top the Qianlong ranking too arrogant? Lin Yuan quietly says that it is a trap. Chang'an and Shan turn sharply in his direction and Chang'an asks again, what? How does he know? They then look back at the arena and see the red fire tiger continuing to deal with Wuxu and Gu. He looks at his opponent and notices that there is one last blow left. Then he is about to attack, but suddenly Gu rises and uses his paws to grab Wang Ling Hu. He furiously screams for Gu not to touch him, but he squeezes it even tighter in his paws. The tiger opens its mouth, from where green streams of smoke begin to emanate and penetrate directly into the nose of the red fiery tiger. Chang'an is surprised to note that he actually lured him into a trap. But how did Yuan know about this? Lin Yuan explains that the best way to lull the enemy's vigilance is to show weakness. Wuxu and Gu can stay at the top of the rankings, let alone whether he is worthy of it. His fighting skills are in no way inferior to those of Wang Ling Hu. Shan closely monitors what is happening in the arena and realizes that he could not even imagine that Lin Yuan would be so insightful. Usually they ignore the details, but he was completely immersed in the process without relaxing. Then he turns to the T and pats him on the shoulder and says that young people are smarter than him now. In response to this, Chang'an turns around and asks him to watch his words. Shan probably also was twiddling his thumb. But Zhao Shan exclaimed in response, even if he didn't notice anything, he has an attentive student. Chang'an answers in confusion, he shouldn't have been underestimated. At this moment the battle continues. Wang Ling Hu shouts for Wuxu and Gu to stop. He then begins to emit flames from his chest, thereby pushing Gu away from him. Immediately after this, the red fire tiger jumps and tries to attack the Golden Winged Centipede King. The crowd is perplexed, will Wuxu and Gu really lose? In such a situation, Wang Ling Hu can turn everything in his favor. No, an SS rank cannot be defeated with just a beast soul. He is still inferior to Wuxu and Gu in terms of skills. Meng Chang'an turns to Lin Yuan and asks how he thinks Wuxu and Gu can lose. In response to this, Yuan seriously says no. Will lose to Wang Ling Hu. Meng Chang'an clarifies in surprise, will Wang Ling Hu lose? Why is this? It's clear that he has absolutely every chance of winning. But Lin Yuan replies with a smile, they definitely noticed. They are probably just checking him. Zhao Shan grins, you really can't hide anything from this guy. Yuan explains, Ling Hu's attacks are fierce, but hasty, the poison is about to take effect. The red fire tiger growls heavily and prepares to attack. Gu insists that he give up already, he doesn't stand a chance. Perhaps it is not too late to go to the medical center and remove the poison, but he is not responsible for the consequences. But in response Ling Hu screams with a loud roar, no way. He then jumps straight towards Wuxu and Gu. He looks at this and exclaims, what a fool Wang Ling Hu is. He then hits him with his tail and knocks him back. Ling Hu falls, hitting the ground hard. Lin Yuan watches this and notes that by falling into the centipede's trap, Wang Ling Hu has already lost. Although Wuxu and Gu currently ranks first, he will face tougher opponents in the future. The presenter's voice is heard, announcing that Wuxu and Gu has won. Zhao Shan sees this and frowns and says what a shame, if Wang Ling Hu had not been sent, the battle could have been more exciting. Chang'an looks towards Yuan and says if he thought like him, the result would certainly change. He thinks the guy is obviously a beginner, but his insight is like that of an experienced hunter. It scares. Shan then turns to Lin Yuan and asks if Yuan knows why he invited him to watch the fight. He guessed that Zhao Shan wanted him to admire the young talents. Shan sternly exclaims, "That's right, you need to clearly know your own position, the enemy's strengths, and realize the need for self-improvement. If he wants to be at the top of the ranking, then he can't relax." Yuan thanks the teacher with a smile. He understood everything. An hour later, in the meditation room, Xiao Hailong asked Lin Yuan what his impressions of the fight were. Yuan replied with a sigh. Wuxuangu had definitely reached the 4-star level of a beast master, and Wang Linghu, if not 4-star, then the maximum 3-star. The first simply releases a poisonous cloud, while the second masterfully controls the scarlet flame. Given this data, their strength in real combat is much higher than that of others of the same level. Hailong agrees, they are truly worthy of their place on the Qianlong list. Yuan continues to speak. Moreover, aiming for the first place, Wuxuangu no doubt has a trump card. The question is whether Jin Zi can get detailed information. Xiao Hailong asks what his chances are against them. Lin Yuan begins to think, somewhere around 3 to 7, 3 for him, 7 for Wang Linghu. He has good intuition and developed combat skills, but in a duel to the death there is not much chance, not to mention Wuxuangu. Hailong tries to cheer him up. Their souls are above S rank, they are a genius, but Yuan must compensate for the shortcomings to ensure victory. He answers decisively, yes, he will definitely try. The national competition is less than a month away, he should be on the list. Xiao Hailong adds, in addition, he has 1,000,000 unused evolution points left, he will be able to rise to a 2-star master. Yuan then takes the low-quality crystal and exclaims, okay, he needs to continue his meditation. Xiao Hailong adds with a smile, that's true. A week later, Lin Yuan continued to meditate and breathe steadily. Hailong looks at the information window and shouts joyfully that he has leveled up a lot. The information window specifies that his animal soul is a huge black lizard. State and growth stage. Talent rating is equal to SS rank. Class is a 1-star beast master. Height is 20 meters and 7 centimeters. Weight is 7,840 kilograms. Attack methods are bite, claw attack. The skill is rank a daylight, C rank nuclear breath. The beast artifact is a scarlet flame claw, which is similar to the beast level. The black scale armor is also similar to the beast level. The remaining number of evolution points is 3,250,000. Lin Yuan also looks at this and is relieved. He has been accumulating evolution points since he received the rank of Beast Master. At the moment he already has more than 3 million points. If it weren't for the experience boost, it wouldn't have been possible to accumulate so much. In response to this, Hailong asks how he will distribute the points. Lin Yuan shows 2 fingers and immediately answers, he will spend 200,000 on the hardness of the scales. 200,000 will be spent on sharp claws, another 200,000 for sharp teeth, and the same amount for increasing nuclear breathing power and capacity. Half an hour later, Xiao Hailong congratulated him as a master for receiving the 2nd star. There are still 1,750,000 points left. Yuan examines his hands and notes that it's a pity that he didn't reach the 3rd star, but it's still not bad. Then he gets up, runs out of the room and happily says that the time has come to test his abilities. Hailong is added. This is correct, he has not appeared in the dorm for a week and slept for 2-3 hours. He also thinks that the description makes it sound like a real monster. A few moments later in Wang's bedroom, Jin Zi asks in bewilderment what Yuan is looking at so intently. He embarrassedly asks, but what? It's not possible. This is the same hostel. Then Jin Zi puts things in a bag and says that Lin Yuan has already gone crazy from pumping. How long have they not seen each other? Yuan asks in confusion, where are Song Lan and Zhao Ming? Wang Jins continues to pack his things and explains that Zhao Ming and the others were seriously injured. He came for a change of clothes. Song Lan made an appointment with Ming's offender this evening, but in the meantime he's probably training. Yuan asks again in bewilderment, what's this? Why does he even need this? Wang takes the bag and explains that such a kind person like Zhao Ming would never get into conflict with anyone. There are simply too many raiding hunters, so Song Lan had to stick his neck out. Lin Yuan clarifies, raiding hunters. Jin Zi closes his eyes and explains that they use strong students to get to the top, then give places to weak ones. Yuan is very surprised and continues to ask more details. Heron continues to explain that at first the stronger freshmen fight for a place on the list, then they deliberately lose to the weaker member of the group in order to transfer the ranking to them. Moreover, to maintain 0 scores, participants must pay a weekly fee, and those who want to get a higher rating are required to pay more. Yuan leans over and asks with bewilderment, shouldn't they be kicked off the list if they don't meet the skill? Wang Jins replies with a frown, no, their position is maintained as long as the money comes in. If he dares to challenge the person he is protecting, he will become a target. Zhao Ming couldn't stand all this, so he called them to the wallpaper, but they were seriously injured. Hearing this, Lin Yuan agrees, this is really his style. Doesn't the university care? Jinzi asks with a grin, did he forget that their university admires students more than others? Of course no one is going to interfere. Then Yuan realizes that this university is even more cruel than he imagined. He begins to like it more and more. Then he asks who founded the organization. He's probably not one of the strongest to come up with such a thing. Then Jinzi says that the creator of the group of hunters is Wuxuangu. Yuan frowns and asks, Wuxuangu, isn't he first on the list? But Jinzi replies that he has not been in first place for a long time. Among the current freshmen he is considered a hidden talent. He needs to look at the league table. He then shows him the phone, which displays a leaderboard on its screen. Today at 15:03, the first place is taken by Chu Tianyi, the bestial soul of the black-headed golden eagle. The second place goes to Shen Kang, the white-fang beast soul. The third place is taken by Wuxuangu, the beast soul king of the golden-winged centipedes. The fourth place is taken by Lai Kingnan, the beast soul dark purple monstrous vine. Fifth place is occupied by Wang Linghu, the beast soul red flame tiger. 18th place is occupied by Song Lan, the animal soul multicolored glass butterfly. After this, Wang Jinzi adds in a serious tone, on the second day after the publication of the list, Wuxuangu created an organization of ranking hunters. He recruited Lai Kingnan, Shen Kang and a bunch of other strong guys. Gu promised many benefits, now a third of all students in his organization. But guys like Wang Linghu and Chu Tianyi did not join. Lin Yuan noted thoughtfully that Linghu and Wuxuan don't get along, so it's not surprising. If we talk about Tanya, he had no idea about his strength. Jinzi, sitting on the chair in front of Yuan, exclaimed that Tanya would only need 4 days to reach the top. What's funny is that many hunters challenged him, but they were just another obstacle. This made Wuxuangu very angry. Lin Yuan grinned and clarified, Wuxuan also lost to him. Wang Jinzi explained, to be honest, their souls are different. Chu Tianyi, for example, can fly. It is impossible to catch him with poisonous spit, so he won. Then he added that later he would send Yuan a video of their battle for him to watch, but now he already needs to run to Ming. But Lin Yuan replied that he would go with him. After a while, they came to Zhao Ming's room. He was lying on a hospital bed, his arms and legs were wrapped in bandages. When he saw Lin Yuan, he immediately asked how it happened that he came. Yuan went to his bed, put a basket of tangerines on the bedside table and asked how he was feeling. Ming replied that he was fine, but Wang Jins immediately exclaimed, in what place is he okay? Zhao Ming, in turn, smiled embarrassedly and apologized. Then he asked, by the way, is Songlan meeting with that guy today? Jinzi answered, yes, in the evening, in the 7th arena. Hearing this, Min sat down on the bed and said irritably that it was all his fault. If only he had been a little stronger, nothing would have happened. Seeing this, Wang Jinzi immediately tried to calm him down. Okay, he must lie still, otherwise he will need to bandage again. Yuan watches Ming with concern and then asks, the one Song Lan is fighting today injured him, right? After some time, this evening Lin Yuan and Wang Jinzi were in the number 7 arena of Mo University. Jinzi ate a snack and explained that today's opponent is called Yuan Lion. He is ranked 25th, but he is fighting hard for it. He also hopes that Song Lang will cope, because in the battle with Zhao Ming, Yuan Lion did not show all his strength. Liao Ming turned to Jinzi and asked in surprise, he doesn't seem to care about his rating at all. Wang Jinzi confirms with a soft smile, yes, it is too difficult for him to fight for a place on the list, so he can only improve his intelligence. But Yuan doesn't think that his father helps him in everything. He doesn't rely on anyone to collect information and further sell it. He wants to become the largest seller of intelligence services in China. Yuan only adds that it seems that they, the rich, are also having a hard time. The answer to this is Jinzi looks at the starry sky and explains, to tell the truth, he has a brother, he is unimaginably talented, but for the sake of conspiracy he entered Yanjing University. He really wants to be his brother's assistant, which is also why he collects information. Hearing this, Yuan is very surprised. In his imagination, an older brother should be like a younger brother and a father at the same time. It's hard to imagine what kind of person his older brother is. Suddenly Jinzi puts the snack aside and says, well, everything has already begun. At this moment, Yuan Lion enters the arena and mockingly asks, is Song Lan going to stand up for this idiot? Lan stands opposite him. He points his finger and frowns and replies that they guys have gone too far. In response, Yuan also points his finger and laughingly asks, is he talking about a fight with that fool? Very funny, he is so weak that he asks others to stand up for him. Song Lan hears this and, clenching his fists in anger, asks, do they, the hunters, really have no conscience? But Lion continues to laugh and asks, what difference does it make when even the university doesn't care? He heard that Lan is one of the strongest in this city. Does he know what Yuan thinks? To him, he is as much a fool as this Zhao Ming. Unable to stand it and hitting his fists out of anger, Min begins to merge and turns into a multicolored glass butterfly. Lion sees it and can't believe what it is. That is, this is his spirit. With these words he begins to laugh hard and says how cute the moth is. He is very, very afraid. Suddenly he looks angrily at Ming and exclaims, his shiny wings are just right for sticking needles into this. He then starts merging and turns into a big bad ape. The people in the crowd are very surprised. Why is Songlan's spirit's appearance different? Someone replies that he heard, it is just an auxiliary soul without combat power, how can he fight? Four-armed demonic monkey Yuan Lion is an aggressive soul, Songlan is in danger. Now Jinzi excitedly turns to Yuan, Lion is incredibly strong, he has every chance of getting into the top 10 of the ranking. Does Songlan have a chance to win? Who does he think will win? Lin Yuan watches what is happening closely and replies that he doesn't know yet, but now the monkey obviously has the advantage. At this time the monkey reaches out with his hand to the butterfly, but it uses acceleration. When Yuan grabs Lan, he pulls him across the arena. Yuan Lion wonders, what is this? But the butterfly uses rage and then attacks the monkey in the back. The monkey then screams loudly in pain and falls to the ground. Lin Yuan understands, so this is the power of the glass butterfly. Despite the mediocrity of the soul, it still needs to be taken into account. If Yuan Lion relaxes, he will suffer. The butterfly looks at him mockingly. He angrily shouts that Songlan must die. With these words he rises and jumps towards the butterfly. In an instant, she flies around the monkey and injures him. Wang Jinzi exclaims in bewilderment, he has gone crazy. But Yuan explains, no, these are attempts to push Songlan to the edge of the ring in order to limit the space for movement and create an opportunity for attack. At this time, the butterfly is closely watching Songlan. Yuan continues to explain that fighting in a confined space deliberately limits the combat area, which is different from fighting in the field. Therefore, Lion tries to shorten the distance and reduce the effectiveness of the butterfly's attacks to a minimum. At this moment the monkey jumps up to attack Songlan. Jinzi asks in horror, it turns out that Songlan's situation is terrible. At this moment the monkey raises his fist and shouts that he is confident that butterflies are not capable of anything more. She needs to stop running away and accept defeat. With these words, Yuan Lion jumps, aiming his fist straight at the butterfly. But Songlan exploits the weakness and the monkey freezes. She exclaims in horror, what is this? She can't move. The butterfly replies that it will not be able to reduce the space, the outcome of the battle is already predetermined. Then the butterfly begins to flap its wings intensively, but the monkey smiles bloodthirstily and says, although Songlan is cooler than that idiot, he also never stops being an idiot. Yuan Lion then begins to gain energy to strike. Songlan sees this and screams anxiously, air attack. At this moment, the monkey uses a stream of blows and many red sharp spears burst out of its chest. The spears fly straight at the butterfly and tear its wings. Songlan falls helplessly to the ground. Lion jumps up and smiles evilly and says that it's time to torture this fool a little. With these words, he purposefully falls straight onto the butterfly and tries to crush it. Lion then stands up and says he knew Lan could fly, so he prepared an air strike. At this moment the butterfly tries to fly up, but the monkey presses it to the ground with its paw and asks if Lan is still trying to fight. With these words, he injures the butterfly even more, and then begins to laugh furiously. Wang Jinzi wonders with tears in his eyes, where is the judge? Why doesn't anyone announce the results of the fight? This freak will kill him. Yuan Lion continues to hurt Songlan's eyes and asks him, what a failure, the auxiliary soul couldn't protect anyone. He is weak, but he likes to stand up for others. He also hopes that Lan will remember today's lesson for a long time. At this moment, the judge appears and announces that, based on the results of the duel, Yuan Lion will take Songlan's place in the ranking and become 18th. Lion turns back into a human and laughs loudly and says that if Lan wants to continue, he will wait for a call at any time, but now he belongs next to his idiot friend in the infirmary. Then he starts to leave, but suddenly the voice of Wangling who is heard, who goes straight to him and asks, has he no shame? He approaches quickly, but Lion mockingly asks why he cares, it only concerns him and Songlan. If he wants to fight, he can go to Wuxuangu. But Linghu clenches his teeth in anger and menacingly asks what did he say. He now twists him into a pretzel, does he believe it or not? Yuan Lion turns to him and spreading his arms to the sides asks, is he threatening? What a pity that the person higher on the list cannot challenge the person lower on the list. Linghu hears this and exclaims with irritation, how dare he talk like that? Wang Jin sees this and is also angry. Then he goes down to the arena and wonders, Lin Yuan. At this moment, Yuan enters the arena and says, since it comes down to it, Lion should fight him. He asks in surprise who he is. Yuan explains that he is Songlan's friend. He ranks 312th in the ranking. Yuan Lion must accept the challenge. Lion hears this and points her finger at him and begins to laugh loudly, 312th place in the ranking. Does he want to fight? According to the rules, he has no right to challenge him. Is he fed up with living? Yuan replies with a smile, he really can't do it now, but in 12 days he will get there. Lion asks again, 12 days. Then he thinks to challenge him in such a small amount of time, he must undergo extreme tests one after another every day. After that he adds, since Yuan is so sure, then he will wait. If Lin Yuan fails, he will personally break his bones. Lin Yuan also adds that he doesn't have to worry, he will wait. He then sees Song Lan and runs up to him along with Wang Jinzi. Lan grabs his hand and with the last of his strength begins to apologize, but that he lost. Yuan immediately calms him down and tells him to rest and restore his health, and he can leave the rest to him. He then turns to Wang Ling and thanks him for standing up for Song Lan, explains that they were not satisfied with the behavior of the hunters before, but as he sees Yuan is also not a coward, he decided to challenge Yuan Lion. Yuan thoughtfully replies, if they are afraid of everything, then what is the point of coming here? He then apologizes and says they need to go to the infirmary. Lengu is silent for a while and watches as Jinzi and Yuan help Lan walk. After a few seconds he replies, everything is fine. Then he realizes that friendship with Lin Yuan will come in handy. After some time, Wang Jinzi and Lin Yuan stand near the hospital bed on which the wounded Song Lan lies. Jinzi turns to Yuan and asks if he was joking there in the ring. He replies, what, it looks like that. Does Jinzi think he can't handle Lion? Wang Jinzi looks at him suspiciously and replies he doesn't know what is his real power, but Yuan replies that in 12 days they will know. Jinzi is very surprised by this answer. The next day, Wang Jinzi is in arena number 57. He watches as Chen Hai, an 8-star Soul S rank Sea Snake mutant who is ranked 262nd in the ranking, mockingly tells Lin Yuan that Jinzi really has a high self-esteem since he challenged Yuan Lion and skipped 50 positions in the rankings to fight him. But Yuan raises his hands up and shouts that he needs to talk less. Then he begins to merge with the soul of the beast. Chen Hai is surprised at how impatient he is. Then it also starts merging. After a few moments, he turns into a large sea serpent and roars loudly. Yuan also transforms into a large black lizard. The snake immediately tells him to be careful, then he attacks and wraps himself around the lizard's body. Chen Hai screams for Yuan not to move and to die in his arms. Lin Yuan notes that his moves are good, but unfortunately not good enough for him. With these words, he throws the snake aside and thinks that this is the power of a beast master level. They are not equal. He then grabs the kite and says it's time to finish. But Chen Hai immediately shouts that he admits defeat. The host announces that victory is for Lin Yuan. The audience wonders, what, so fast? This guy turns out to have an overlord level, so it wasn't too difficult for him to win. After a while, Lin Yuan enters the room under the spectator rows and Wang Jinzi exclaims with a sly smile that he is a scoundrel for hiding such power all the time. Lin Yuan is also surprised and asks if he really came to his senses and decided to help him with reconnaissance. Jinzi smiles and answers, no, he came up with great ideas on how to make money, is he interested? Yuan immediately asks him to tell him. At this moment he thinks that money would not hurt him. Wang Jinzi says that the story of him in yesterday's battle quickly spread throughout the university so that he is now incredibly popular. He is going to open a betting office. The bet will be whether the Yuan can remain undefeated for 12 days or not. But to prepare well, he needs to know the true power of Yuan. Lin Yuan then whispers in his ear that his strength is approximately equal to a 2-star beast lord. When Jinzi hears this, he immediately exclaims, it turns out that Yuan is stronger than Song Lan. He realizes that Yuan was pretending on purpose. Then he comes closer to him and asks how confident he is that he will last the entire 12 days without defeat. He replies thoughtfully, about 95% or more. Opponents below the top 20 do not pose any danger to him. Then Wang Jinzi replies with a smile, okay, then he will bet 10 million. They will divide the winnings 60% by 40%. Yuan indignantly asks if this is too much. Jinzi answers with a sly smile, of course not. He is the key to their success. Yuan asks in bewilderment, is he? After a while, in cafeteria number 2 of the university, Mo Yuan Lion sat at the table and furiously devoured food. Suddenly he hears someone saying that he is doing well. He turns around and sees Wuxu and Gu. Lion immediately asks what is he doing here. Gu explains that he heard someone challenged him after his duel with Song Lan yesterday. Yuan Lion continues to eat and replies, there was some clown from 312th place, what's so interesting about that? Wuxu and Gu leans over the table and answers, it seems like the news hasn't reached him yet. This guy has already risen to 262nd place, and they say that he is at the level of a beast master. Lion is very surprised, the level of a beast lord. Wuxu and Gu smiles slyly and replies that he overheard it, so he decided to inform him. Lion calms him down and replies, this guy can be anyone, he doesn't have to worry, he won't let this guy know anything about the organization's affairs. Gu then leaves and says then he will wait for good news from him. After this, Yuan Lion starts to get angry and thinks, Master of the Beasts, I really can't wait to see him in action. 3 days later at noon in the number 53 arena, Lin Yuan stood thinking, as far as he knows, this time the opponent will be a guy with the soul of a moon shadow leopard, ranked 242nd and known for speed. Wang Jinzi trusts him completely and is even more inspired than yesterday. He remembers asking Jinzi if he should continue to pretend. He replied, naturally, after opening bets, the odds change in real time. How can they make money if he does it quickly? Yuan clarifies, does he mean a rigged duel? Wang Jinji explained, of course not. Where did he get the idea that the duel would be rigged? This is just a business strategy. In the end, you still need to win. The idea is to take full advantage. First, you need to convince the audience of the high probability of his loss and then win. This way they can earn much more. After listening carefully to Jinzi, Yuan agrees, okay, they will do this. Then Wang Jinzi throws his hand on his shoulder and exclaims that their earnings depend only on him. Lin Yuan thinks that he demonstrated the power of a beast master yesterday. Wang Jinzi is promoting his bets well. Now at least half of the university knows that he is going to challenge Yuan, so it is no wonder that there are so many spectators. Suddenly someone's voice is heard. Is it Lin Yuan? Yuan looks up and sees a guy who says, it's bad luck to accept a challenge from the Beast Lord. Then he exclaims, but he is not going to admit defeat so easily. Lin Yuan must show what he is capable of. He then begins to merge with the spirit of the beast. After a few moments, he turns into a moon shadow leopard. Yuan sees this and also merges with the beast's soul and turns into a black lizard. The leopard sees this and thinks it would be a good idea to suppress the Beast Lord. After all, he is a 9-star, he should cope. Then he quickly runs around the lizard from the back and attacks. The lizard groans in pain and the leopard mentally notes that he wounded it. Its advantage is speed. Lin Yuan in turn thinks that he will do as Wang Jinzi said. He'll play around a bit. Then he swings at the leopard but misses. Then the leopard attacks him from behind again. He understands, it seems, this is the whole essence of the true power of the Master of Beasts. At this time the audience exclaims in bewilderment, how is this possible? The Overlord cannot cope with him, and how is he going to fight Yuan Lion? One of the spectators said that someone had organized a bet on whether Yuan could win within 12 days or not. Another spectator answered him, it seems that with such strength it will be difficult for him to win. Wang Jinzi hears this and thinks with a grin, it seems that the goal has been achieved. There are more and more people doubting Lin Yuan. The better he demonstrates his acting skills, the more money they can make. At this time the leopard again attacks the black lizard. He thinks that if he keeps this up, he might even be able to defeat the Beast Lord. Then he approaches the black lizard again and stabs it in the back. But suddenly the lizard turns and throws him away. The leopard crashes straight into the wall and, falling, turns back into a human. The audience gasps in surprise. Lion looks towards the enemy and then smiles evilly. The enemy is perplexed, maybe this is a coincidence, but he could not avoid the blows at that very moment. The audience begins to shout with pleasure, how did this happen? The Master of the Beast still turned out to be stronger than the ordinary owner of the soul. What are we even talking about? Lin Yuan is so strong that he can seriously harm Kai Ying with one blow. It turns out that in the first half of the battle he was simply pretending and did not show his true strength. Jinzi hears this and grins, then he runs into the arena to Yuan and shouts that everything went great. Yuan confirms this and says that he acted like a real actor. Wang Jinzi shows 2 fingers up and replies that it was even better. Most people are now wary of him, but he doesn't think their plan will be discovered quickly so they can continue. Lin Yuan agrees, okay. After that, late at night in the dorm room, Yuan lay on the bed and thought, today after the fight with Kai Ying, he received not only 2 silver treasure chests, but also a beast artifact. He can simply sell this and continue to defeat weaker opponents, plus a generous reward for opening chests and shares of the composition. 5 days later, Lin Yuan rose from 242nd place to 141st place. He comes into the room very weak and tired and reasons that over these few days he unexpectedly encountered several highly upgraded opponents. He had to admit defeat before the start of the battle and give up the treasure chests. Wang Jinzi looks down at him and asks why he is so sad. They still have a chance, he should be happy. But Yuan tiredly asks if he has any information about tomorrow's opponent. Jinzi then hands him the tablet and says that he prepared this especially for him. Yuan takes the tablet and reads that his opponent tomorrow is ranked 92nd. His name is Lei Qingming. He is a thunder beast, a strong attacking soul. His form is a blue behemoth with lightning on his body, which is capable of controlling thunder and has enormous explosive power. He defeated Liu Chengfeng, the 1-star beast master. He also defeated Qi Wandao, a 1-star beast lord. But he lost to Yuan Lion, the 2-star beast lord. His estimated strength is a 1-star beast master of the maximum level, the entry level of a 2nd-star beast master. Lin Yuan notes that he seems very strong. Jinzi confirms, of course, after being defeated by Yuan Lion, he joined the hunting party. All the students think Yuan will lose. But then he adds with a sly smile, when Yuan defeats Lei Qingming, everyone will finally see his true strength, so he will close bets before the fight. In a duel with him you don't have to hold back, he can show everything he's capable of. Lin Yuan exclaims energetically, okay, it's finally time to have some fun. Improved pumping room. Muzu is sitting on the floor with her eyes closed, magical sparks lit up brightly around her. But suddenly a message from King Q came to her phone and Muzu asks, did something happen? She replies, today there will be a fight between Lin Yuan and Lei Qingming, and asks, will she come to see it? Muzu looked away and wondered how strong this guy is. Q replied that he was ranked 92nd in the Qianlong Beast Mastery rankings with 1 star. Muzu lowered her gaze and said, repeating, 1-star lord. Hugh spread her hands and suggested that she didn't seem to worry at all about the fact that Yuan might lose. Muzu stretched her arms upward and with a smile on her face said loudly that he is very strong. She believes in his victory. Hugh said with a smirk on her face that she noticed that she was confident in her boyfriend. Muzu felt ashamed of such a statement and shouted with embarrassment that he was not her boyfriend. She should not say such nonsense. They are just fellow countrymen. Hugh answered her, okay, she wanted to know something else. Why doesn't she participate in raiding battles? She should be able to handle at least the next 50 people. Muzu spoke in response. The teacher said that there is no point in fighting for the sake of a reward. You first need to level up and then act. Hugh took a deep breath and said, reward? Her teacher has a lot of money, apparently, in order to pay for the best leveling room every month, equip an energy collection system with high-level crystals. Okay, now she will go and watch the fight and then tell her everything what's happening. Muzu thanked her for this and after some time it was 7 o'clock in the evening. A lot of people gathered at the University of Mo in the sports area in the arena at number 26. Yuan stood near the entrance to the arena with Jin Jai and asked him, hearing the loud voices of the crowd, why are there so many people today? He answered, about half of them placed bets, the rest simply ran to the noise. The betting pool will close, so he must give his all. Yuan looked towards the arena with confidence and told him that he could rely on him. At this moment, Kingaming had already entered the arena and shouted loudly, where is Lin Yuan? He turned around sharply. Lei Kingaming is ranked 92nd in the Qianlong ranking. Yuan came out to him, stopped opposite him and said that he was here. Kingaming walked closer to him. He looked much more powerful than him, and suddenly he asked him a question. Was he the one who threatened Yuan Lion and dared to say that he would never lose in 12 days? Yuan asked him again, but what? He couldn't do this. Kingaming shouted to him with a menacing look, of course it is possible, but unfortunately his self-confidence will destroy him. It will destroy his self-confidence. Yuan, with the same menacing tone, told him to try it. After a moment, they both made a sudden movement and shouted at the same time, merging with the soul of the beast. They turned into magical beasts and stood opposite each other. Thick dust formed around them, and bright sparks emanated from their bodies. The surrounding people were very surprised by this transformation and one of the guys shouted, this Lei Kingaming is so strong. He is one of the strongest freshmen. Another guy next to him shouted back to him, even though Lin Yuan, the master of beasts, was not particularly impressive in the last competition. Now everyone calls him an empty talker. The girl standing next to him also shouted, be that as it may, she bet Lin Yuan to lose, and she can't even imagine what is in the minds of those who count on him to win. At this moment, Kingaming with his eyes burning with a bright light said, by the way, he forgot to say that he deliberately bet on his defeat, and that is 5 million. Yuan asked him again, did he really bet 5 million that he would lose? Kingaming asked the question with a grin, baring his teeth, so what? He needed to bet on victory. Yuan replied, it doesn't matter, he just wanted to thank him. Kingaming asked him again in bewilderment, did he say thank you? But for what? Yuan shouted back to him that he would soon find out about this, and after these words he rushed to run at him, which caused a loud roar to appear throughout the arena. Kingaming shouted how fast he was. The intelligence man said that his soul belonged to the strength category. At that moment, he straightened his paws, looked up and his whole body glowed with a bright light. At that moment, they began to attack each other in the air and growl loudly, making sudden movements. After the first blow, the Yuan flew to the side with a roar. Kingaming looked at him and thought with a malicious expression on his face, although he only has 1 master star, he can match the speed of 2 stars. If he dies, then he will suffer greatly. At that moment, his eyes widened in surprise and he wondered, is that it? But how is this possible? He saw how quickly the Yuan recovered after his blow and rushed to attack him. Kingaming tried to prepare himself and realized what a freak he was. He forced him to do it himself. He stopped abruptly and directed a bright magical beam at him. Yuan grinned and said, looking at him, that he was unlucky. He was caught just when the public no longer needed his acting. He opened his mouth, from which a bright ray of light appeared, which with incredible speed defeated his opponent, and Yuan spoke his words of farewell to him. Kingaming flew to the side and said, how could this be? His body sent a lot of fragments flying everywhere. After this attack, there was a loud scream. Yuan looked around, and Kingaming fell to the ground and was destroyed. The host announced that the duel was over. Yuan was happy about this and stopped. Lin Yuan wins. Many people in the arena were dumbfounded by such a surprise and opened their mouths in surprise. No one expected such an outcome of events and everyone continued to watch the suffering of Kingbing, who opened his bloody mouth and screamed. People began to rejoice and shout loudly, wow. One of the guys shouted that he couldn't believe his eyes. Did Lin Yuan really win? How great is this? He decided to bet 200,000 on it and his intuition did not let him down. People laughed loudly and rejoiced. Q was also stunned by the end of this battle and mentally wondered, was he able to destroy Lei Kingaming with 1 blow? Although she is a beast master with a 2nd star, it would also be difficult for her to resist such a thing. No wonder Sumuzu is so confident in him. Long flew up to Yuan and shouted, he won and received a golden treasure chest. Yuan looked at the attacked enemy and asked a question, "Can he open this chest now?" Lung shouted back, "Of course he can do it, only he can see the contents." A moment later, the chest was successfully opened and 50,000 evolution points and a Beast Master level artifact were obtained. Kang Lei's Claw is a Beast King level artifact. When struck, the claws become infected with lightning light, granting increased attack speed as well as a bonus to lightning attribute damage. Yuan looked at the chest with his mouth open and shouted with a satisfied expression on his face that this was much better than the flaming claw. This is of a general level, but it can be sold for a good price. Jinjai started shouting at him from afar and asking, "Buddy, what was that?" He ran towards him with a joyful feeling and shouted, "Lin Yuan." Yuan turned at him in surprise and he continued to shout, "What a beautiful victory this is. Now they are incredibly rich." He stopped opposite, gave him a thumbs up, and Yuan shouted back, "That's great." They exchanged glances of satisfaction. At that moment someone began to approach them from afar and said, "And he turns out to be capable of something else." He clapped his hands loudly and said that he had watched the duel and it was incredibly exciting. Jinjai turned to him warily and asked why he came. He replied that he just wanted to ask how his roommates were doing. Yuan told him that he shouldn't care. Yuan Lion said, "There is no talk of any excitement, he only has a few days left, let him go and check them." He approached him faster and faster and pushed Jinjai on his way, who squinted at his sudden movements. He walked past them and looked back and shouted, as he fought the King of Ming, he shouldn't have wasted so much time. Jinjai shouted and asked the question, how is he not tired of mocking everyone yet? Yuan replied, let him rage now, but they will look at him when his time comes to say goodbye to life. 3 days later, Yuan moved to place 32. He sat in the training room in the lotus position with his eyes closed, many sparks emanating from his body, and the moon flew above him and watched what was happening with a smile on his face. Yuan opened his eyes and spoke with seriousness. He had finally reached the 3 stars of the Beast Lord. Wong shouted, tomorrow he can challenge Yuan Lion. Yuan shouted back, yes, over the past few days the opponents have not brought him anything valuable from the rewards. He can already imagine what the chest will be like after defeating Yuan Lion. During the next day, Yuan was walking with Jinjai on the university grounds and he shouted to him with an intriguing smile on his face, by the way, a couple of days ago he opened a new bet. Yuan looked warily at the bag in his hands and shouted, asking the question, is it something like, can Lin Yuan defeat Yuan Lion? And what bet did he make? Jinjai replied, 1-to-1 and 2-to-1. People no longer decide to make large sums once they have seen his real strength, so there is little chance of hitting the jackpot. Yuan replied, then he bets himself 6 million. Jinjai shouted back, this is all the winnings he gave him. Looks like he's really serious this time. Yuan shouted back, they will see it in that very place. Meanwhile, Min, who was in the hospital with Lan, jumped out of bed and shouted towards the door the question, what was their fate in coming here? Yuan and Jinjai entered their room. He handed over a bag for Ming and shouted, here, they brought hot buns from the 3rd cafeteria. Ming bowed to him and jokingly shouted, thank you, father. Yuan asked the question, how is Songlan doing? He replied with a sad expression on his face that he was not doing very well. The wounds were really deep, but fortunately he had the level of an overlord, otherwise he would have already been expelled. Lan opened his eyes and asked in a trembling voice, why did they suddenly come? Jinjai came up to him with a package and said, smiling, that they brought him breakfast, here, he can eat this. Yuan looked into the distance and thought, in the battle with Yuan Lion, not only Songlan's body was defeated, but also his spirit. His damaged pride would not allow him to live in peace and he would begin to doubt his abilities. No one will help him here, only by entering into a struggle with himself can he realize the value of life. Jinjai took a bite of the sandwich and shouted, today Lin Yuan will definitely take revenge for them. Ming and Lan looked in his direction in bewilderment and wondered what was going on. Jinjai shouted to them, in 12 days he has never lost, and this is all for today's fight. Ming asked him a question with a look of stunned expression on his face, beast, when did he become so strong? Lan opened his mouth in surprise and was stunned for a moment, after which he decided to speak with a menacing expression on his face. Although Yuan Lion used techniques last time, he does not think that this is all he is capable of. He should be careful. Yuan was saddened by his situation and thanked him for his advice, after which he confidently said that he would not lose. Some time later, at noon, many people again gathered in arena number 3, expecting an incredibly interesting fight. They shouted loudly and gathered their thoughts before the fight. Jinjai sat in the front row, but when he saw some unknown guy, he was surprised by this and asked who was standing there. The guy stood on the edge of the viewing area and watched what was happening in the arena itself. Lion came onto the field and waved to this guy. At that moment, Yuan approached him and said, even Wuxuangu is here. It seems that this fight is very important for the hunters. Lion shouted back with rage, he just wants to see how quickly he will be destroyed. Yuan looked up curiously and looked into the eyes of Wuxuangu, who was watching what was happening. Suddenly Lion began to shout, turning away from Yuan and placing his hands on his waist. Today everyone gathered to watch the fights between him and Ling Yuan. They want to know who is stronger. Lion pointed his finger at himself and shouted with an ominous expression on his face that he could say right now that he would be the winner. After that, he pointed his finger towards the Yuan and shouted loudly that he would be the last one who dared to cross the path of the hunter. Yuan looked at his antics with a calm expression and said nothing. Wuxuangu clapped his palms after saying this and shouted with a smile on his face, "This is not bad." Ming got angry, clenched his hand into a fist and shouted, why on earth did he think that he would defeat Lin Yuan? This is already too much. Jin Jai grabbed him by the shoulder and asked him to calm down and cool down with a smile on his face. They sat back down and suddenly someone came up to them and said, this time a lot of hunters came, so he just decided to demonstrate his devotion to Wuxuangu. The guys cautiously turned to look at him and it turned out that a Lingu had approached them, who with a smile on his face asked if they would mind if he sat down next to him. Jin Jai was stunned by the question asked and answered him that of course he could sit with them. He didn't think that he would come here too. Lingu shouted that he had bet 10 million yuan on Lin. Naturally, he came to watch this fight. Jin Jai opened his mouth in surprise and asked, this is so much. Isn't he afraid that he might lose? At that moment, Ming realized that this guy had a lot of money. Lingu asked loudly, did they organize the sweepstakes? He had enough time to earn extra money, and then he would bet all the money on Lin Yuan. Jin Jai realized that the guy did the right thing and snatched his share. Ming lowered his gaze and shouted, let them just look at how confident he is. Lingu replied, Wuxuangu also made a lot of noise, and at the same time established himself in front of the members of the organization. In the end, after Chu Tianyi stood up for Lin Yuan, the second one became the most desired target. He hopes it won't affect him too much. Wuxuangu stood and watched what was happening in the arena with a gaze and a smile on his face. Lingu frowned and thought he really wanted to see how Wuxuangu would react if Yuan Lion lost. At this moment, a battle began between the rivals and Lion shouted with a menacing look, merger. He turned into a huge monkey and screamed, in this battle he will break his bones one by one until he kneels in front of him and begins to beg for mercy. He started growling loudly and thumping his arms and legs all over the place, making a lot of noise. Many sparks from the transformation flashed around him and he screamed, let him show him what he is capable of already. Yuan still did not transform and stared intently at the huge monkey that appeared right in front of him. He continued to watch him menacingly and suddenly his eyes widened and he cast a fusion spell, after which he turned into a huge monster and roared. He stopped in front of the monkey for one moment and suddenly the vine jumped sharply and began to pounce on him, opening its mouth. Yuan quickly realized what was happening, but at that moment Lion touched his body and a bright spark occurred between them. They collided with their powers, and suddenly Lion expressed fear on his face and realized this cannot be. His jump kick is the level of a 2-star overlord. At that moment, there was a loud click between them and blood spilled. Yuan opened his mouth, from which Lion noticed a brightly burning ray of light that began to be directed towards him and he realized that his affairs were bad. He needs to change his position immediately. He moved away from Yuan and managed to dodge the bright beam of light with which Yuan was about to destroy him. Lion paused and clots of dust flew near his body from a strong blow from the Yuan. He got scared and thought that he was in a terrible situation and everything was happening too quickly. He opened his mouth in shock and at the same moment a ray of light from Yuan's mouth was directed into his face. He got scared and wondered, is this happening again? After which he tried to jump sharply from his position, but a bright beam of light illuminated the entire area and the Yuan hit him directly, but did not attack since he was able to protect himself. No one would have thought this. Lion wondered with a terrifying expression, does he think he can deal with him with just this ability? How naive this is. He suddenly started running and realized that he didn't have a scratch, he was absorbing most of the energy, and if this continues, he won't last long. Yuan continued to attack him with a bright beam of light, but Lion held the blow and defended himself with his shield. Ming wondered in surprise, did Lion withstand the Yuan attack? How did this happen? Yuan continued to attack him with all his strength, but suddenly the bright yellow light turned blue, and after a loud sound, Yuan began to emit blue-colored magic. Everything lit up with bright rays of light and Lion, with horror and frightened eyes, realized that this was energy, but before he had time to think this thought through to the end, he was destroyed by such an incredible flow of magic. The blow landed right on his chest and he roared loudly in pain before being thrown aside. A huge stream of blood flowed from his mouth. Yuan paused, continuing to watch what was happening, and at that moment the lion fell to the ground with a crash. Jin Jai, Ming and Lingu were stunned by what was happening and at the same time very happy, and Wuxuangu, in turn, became wary and with a gloomy look asked the question, how did this happen? Ming pointed his finger at Lion and started shouting, wow, then asked the question, but when did Ling Yuan become so strong? Out of incredible joy, he hugged Jin Jai, who spoke back to him. He didn't know that he had actually always been like this. Ming continued to shout, Yuan Lion is not his opponent. It's a pity someone's bet didn't work out. Lingu told them that they should not rejoice too early. He did not think that everything was so easy. Lion stood up and said, taking a cumbersome step, that he had to say that he had exceeded all his expectations. He was surrounded by a huge pillar of dust, after which he touched his wound on his face and said menacingly, which means that game time is over. After these words, he rushed to run towards the Yuan, which again sharply opened its mouth as a defense and began to emit a magical light, from which stone fragments flew everywhere, and he thought such a speed could be developed by at least the ruler of no less than 3 stars. Lion jumped high and pounced on him, shouting at him to die. After these words, he made many sudden movements that illuminated the entire area with a bright light. Yuan touched his approaching hand and tried to stop his attack with his own strength, after which Lion pulled back a little again, but asked him not to forget that he has 4 hands. He raised his bloody hand and said, "The taste of blood is not bad at all, is that right?" After asking the question, he dealt a fierce blow to Yuan's body. A lot of blood was shed and Yuan roared. Yuan was defeated, blood was gushing from his body. Lion saw this and shouted with joy and pleasure that this was just the beginning. After these words, Lion suddenly started running. Yuan noticed this and became alert, after which Lion dealt him another fierce blow, and his blood was shed again. He jumped in place, and Lion watched his behavior from afar with a grin. Suddenly teeth became visible from Yuan's mouth. He laughed and Lion wondered with a gloomy expression on his face, does he still have the strength to laugh? Yuan got angry, closed his claws together, which subsequently caused a bright splash, and he told him he's not the only one who has artifacts. He raised his hands up and the entire area shone with magical waves. Lion was in a state of complete stupefaction and thought, what a horror. He deliberately allowed him to come closer to lure him into a trap. A moment later, a bright beam of light was directed at him, which exploded near his body and attacked him. Yuan directed 2 of his fists and placed it on his enemy's shoulders, placing him close to the ground. His body began to shine with a bright light, after which he sharply raised his head, looking up and opened his mouth again, after which he directed a bright beam of light at the vine. He, in turn, began to scream in fear that he should not do this, but Yuan shouted back to him that he would be finished. A moment later, he attacked his opponent with incredible force and deftly destroyed him. The entire area was filled with a bright blue color. Ming, Jinjai, and Ling Hu opened their mouths in surprise, and at that same moment everyone saw the defeated Lion, who was lying on the ground motionless in a pool of blood. Yuan stared at his body, and a lot of dust formed around their battle site. After that, Lion said in a trembling voice, he had not lost yet, but he could not finish this phrase, and suddenly Yuan said with joy in his eyes, since he did not lose, then let him allow him to continue. Lion tried to get up from the ground, but his whole body was trembling and he was completely exhausted, and he loudly asked the question, what does he want to achieve with this? Yuan shouted back at him, he wants to do to him the same thing that he did to Zhao Ming and Song Lan. At that moment, he opened his mouth again and continued his attack, causing Lion to scream from the sudden continuation of the fight and his pain. Suddenly, the entire area shone with a bright red color. The vine was completely defeated and fell to the ground again, experiencing incredible pain. The surrounding people were surprised by this outcome of events, and someone started shouting, Lin Yuan is really a cool guy. This is how this Yuan lion should be done. Let him get what he deserves. Some girl covered her mouth in pity and watched the suffering of the vines with a frightened expression on her face. The other guy screamed, clenching his hand into a fist in anger. Honestly, it was high time he was taught a lesson. Hunters are the sore spot of the academy. Well done, Lin Yuan. Yuan stopped his attacks and asked his opponent, is he giving up? This is the only way to stop his suffering. Otherwise, he can forget about national competitions. Lion was silent for a while, then suddenly began to shout and asked a question, Lin Yuan, does he really think that he can be bullied endlessly? Yuan opened his mouth and shouted back, is he saying mock? He behaves exactly the same way he behaved. At this moment, their screams and arguments were interrupted by Wu Xuangu, who shouted, Lin Yuan. He shouldn't go overboard with what's going on. Ling Hu, who approached him from behind along with Jin Jai and Ming, shouted at him a question, where did he go too far? Isn't there too much honor for them? The hunters. They take places in the ranking list and do whatever they want. Gu turned to him with a grin, after which he cleared his ears with a mockery and shouted the question, who gave the word to the loser? Ling Hu got angry and shouted at him, he. But Gu did not pay attention to him and shouted with a menacing look, Lin Yuan, he should think carefully, does he really need enemies in the form of hunters? At that moment, a bright beam of light appeared behind him. He spread his arms and used his powers. Yuan waved his hand at him and asked again, did he think there was a misunderstanding between them? Gu looked at him in surprise and asked again, is there a misunderstanding? Yuan confidently replied, yes, he had long ago declared war on their disgusting organization. After these words, the surrounding people opened their mouths in surprise, since no one expected to hear such humiliating words addressed to the hunters. Ling Hu smiled, and Jin Jai and Ming supported their friend by shouting loudly to him. Wuxu and Gu got angry and shouted a question, but does he even understand what he's talking about? At this point the judge asked the question, what is that noise? He hasn't announced the end of the fight yet. Then they shouldn't complain about being kicked off the site. the fight is over. Yuan turned around and realized, this is cool. The judge was a master-level beastmaster. Lion stood up from his seat and asked him in a trembling voice with a sneer, does he really want him to give up? He laughed and shouted, making a sharp movement with his hand, he must listen to him. There are no boundaries anymore. Let him just come and kill him. He became so angry that he opened his mouth as far as he could and finally shouted, Yuan Lion is not afraid of death. After these words, a bright magical beam immediately flew at him, which pierced him and the vine fell to the ground with a roar. He turned back into a man. His whole body was covered in abrasions and blood. He looked at the sky and at that moment people started screaming, this simply cannot happen. Lin Yuan won. He really won. Yuan looked at Lion's prostrate body with a serious expression and thoughtfulness on his face. The judge announced that the winner of today's duel is Lin Yuan. Wuxuangu became angry when he realized this and shouted at him to remember that one day the time will come to pay the bills. He licked his bloody finger and looked at it with fury. After some time, Long showed up and was very happy about his victory, and shouted, he defeated the king-level beastmaster and knocked out the golden chest. Yuan saw and thought with a smile on his face, how great it is, he has another golden chest. At this moment, Ming and Jin Jai ran up to him, shouting with joy, Lin Yuan. Min had never thought before that he was such a beast. Jin Jai also smiled widely at him. Ling Hu also came closer and said that he should be more careful, because Wuxuangu would not just leave it like that. He is the kind of person who will stop at nothing until he achieves his goal. He asked him again, so who does he think he will send next? Ling Hu grinned and said, most likely it will be Lai Qingnan. Yuan asked him why him. Wuxuangu and Shen Sang occupy higher positions in comparison with him. The ranking table now looks something like this. Chu Tianyi is in first place, Shen Kang is in second, Wuxuangu is in third, and Lai Qingnan is in fourth. Ling Hu put his hands on his belt and answered him, Wuxuangu is at the head of the list of hunters, so he values himself like no one else. Challenging him to a duel is almost impossible. He definitely wouldn't send Shen Kang unless absolutely necessary, so only Lai Qingnan remains. Yuan looked away and said, so this is it. He looked at Jin Jai and asked a question, does he have any information about him? He shouted back that he would definitely find it if necessary, and not only about him. Ling Hu said that they might as well not waste their time and ask him directly. He used to fight with him. Ling asked him again, and who won the last time? Jin Jai replied with a grin. He spoke as if he had not seen the ranking table. Ming scratched the back of his head and laughed loudly in embarrassment. After that, Ling Hu spread his hands and said, naturally he lost. Lai Qingnan is not only incredibly strong, but also his bestial soul is extremely eccentric. Yuan shouted, asking the question, what does he mean by these words? He came closer to them and asked, have they heard about the Fido soul? In the observation room, one of the university employees watched what was happening on the computer. Director Wang Ting came in and said, this is a really spectacular duel. This man was a judge. He turned around sharply and asked in surprise, Mr. Rector, how did he end up here? He replied, he just watched the fight and this Lin Yuan is not that bad. The judge said in response that he agreed with him. He was quite experienced, ruthless and decisive. This is what most students lack. Ting asked him, has his ability reached E rank now? The judge scratched his head and shouted, exactly that. But there was a thought that the information was incorrect. The strength he showed is at least S rank. Speaking of which, they should know a thing or two about hunters. Recently, they have become more aggressive, have taken over the Qianlong ranking table, and continue to put pressure on the rest of the disciples. There are complaints. Ting said in response that he understood everything. But Wuxuangu did not violate a single rule of the academy. His approach also corresponds to their motto. Students must feel injustice. This is quite natural. The world is cruel at its core. These children do not yet know the pressure that people face every day, and the further, the more this will happen in their lives. Cultivation Hall. Yuan went inside and the system informed him, greeting him. A freshman of Lin Yuan, he is ranked number 18 on the Qianlong list. When upgrading his qualifications, he is now given a 50% discount. Room A116, the procedure will not take more than 5 minutes. He looked inside the room and said, cool, now it's clear why everyone is trying so hard to get to the top of the rating table. Lun, who was next to him, shouted to him to open the chest faster. He sat down on the floor and opened it with a pleased expression on his face, after which the moon screamed with joy, wow, 50,000 evolution points and a master level artifact. Yuan noticed a bright glowing object above him and wondered what it was. Lung shouted back to him, this is a crystal that accumulates energy, and when the owner's attack reaches the maximum energy in the crystal, it becomes 50% more powerful. Moreover, the owner can pour his own energy into it. He can try it right now. Yuan answered him, okay, after which he shouted the word fusion and turned into a monster. This is a worthy place for cultivation, similar to a 4-dimensional space. In his paw was the same luminous object, which began to make loud sounds and glowed a bright blue color. A moment later, there was some kind of change in this and the moon shouted with delight, this object was filled. Yuan replied, it took him almost half of his entire energy and more than half an hour to fill such a small stone. It will be almost impossible to reload in battle. He brought this object to his chest and continued to stand and think about it. Lung answered him, but the use of this is well reflected in the preliminary preparation. If it is used in combination with breathing, it can cause devastating damage. Yuan replied, picking up the storage talisman. He thinks that's exactly what it is. Long continued to inform him several times in a row. Successful absorption, 1000 evolution points obtained. Yuan sat silently on the floor in the lotus position with bright magical sparks glowing around him. Suddenly he heard some sound. He, along with the moon, was surprised by this and paid attention, looking to the side. He pressed the button and Jinjai appeared in front of him, who looked around and said to him, "Wow, he's settled and well. They're using an advanced cultivation room. All this with earned money. Now he is not in the mood for jokes. As expected, Lai Kingdom has declared war on him. What will they do? He ranks higher than him." Yuan replied, "The fight cannot be refused. Since the victory over Yuan Lion, the rest of the hunters have been watching him. By the way, he plans to continue making money from them." Jinjai was very surprised by this and loudly asked the question, "Does he want to open bets again?" Yuan showed him 2 fingers and said, "This time he will bet 20 million on himself." Jinjai was stunned by such numbers and asked him again, "As much as 20 million? Then he will bet 30. Yuan looked at him in fear and asked him if he was afraid of losing. "It's too much." Jinjai clenched his hands into fists and shouted, he has nothing to lose. He believes that he can win. He began to pass out and finally shouted, "The duel is scheduled for tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the evening. Until he goes and announces the opening of bets. They will meet before the fight." Lung grinned and asked if it was just his imagination or if he never sighed while he was talking. Yuan took a deep breath and said that they would leave it to him. He didn't think that tomorrow there would be a similar rush as last time. The evening of the second day, Jinjai quickly runs through the university grounds. The guys he knows tell him if he knows that he doesn't believe that Lin Yuan will win this time too. In any case, Lai Kingdom is ranked 4th in the ranking and also has an unusual Fido soul. Another guy spoke. Finally, there was a person who could stand up for the honor of the freshmen. He started shouting, and no matter whether there was victory or defeat, he still bet on Lin Yuan. 100 yuan. How does he have the audacity to say such a thing? Jinjai stretched his fists and thought, the current odds are 1.5. This shows that the majority are still against Lin Yuan winning. Friend, now their condition depends only on him. At that moment, Yuan came out to him on the street, waved his hand and apologized for keeping him waiting. Jinjai came closer, caught his breath a little and said, "This is amazing. The duel starts at 7 o'clock and he trained until 6:30. He replied, "It's okay, training never hurt anyone." Jinjai turned around sharply and shouted, "He really has no equal in this." He tells him to go, they need to get to the arena a little early. Yuan asked to run and to eat first, he hadn't had dinner yet. Jinjai opened his mouth in shock and asked him in fear, what did he say? Academy, 3rd canteen, 2nd building. They sat down at a small table and ordered a lot of food to eat. Yuan asked why he suddenly decided to pay the bill. "Did you take the wrong pills today?" Jinjai shouted back, "This is all nonsense. He bet all his money on him, so he should eat in silence. The more he eats, the stronger he will be in the duel." Yuan continued to talk and chew food at the same time. He is the rector's son, but he pretends that he has no money. Jinjai shouted back with a smirk, "That's not the point. Money from your father and money you earned are 2 different things." He wants to show his father that he is not a freeloader at all. Yuan told him, by the way, he still doesn't know what kind of beast soul he has. Jinjai looked away from his embarrassment and said, hesitating, "He shouldn't ask about this. He will find out everything himself later." Night, 1st arena. There were a lot of people gathered in the arena. Yuan came closer and wondered, are there so many people here? Jinjai smiled and shouted back, "Of course." This time he is up against the 4th ranked Qianlong on the list. Considering how exciting the fight against Yuan Lion was, it would be strange to collect less. They hit each other's fists and Jinjai shouted to him to come in, and in the meantime he would find Zhao Ming and Wang Linghu. Yuan agreed with him, but suddenly turned around when he noticed something was wrong. It was Wu Xuangu, who stood in the same place as last time, watching him with a terrifying expression. Yuan looked into his eyes with a slight smile on his face and thought he was going to destroy him. It's just a pity that he chose the wrong person for such a purpose. At that moment, Kingdom came out to him into the arena, walked up to him with a confident gait, and asked, stopping nearby, did he defeat Yuan Lion? To be honest, he doesn't quite fit the role of his opponent. He adjusted his glasses with an arrogant expression on his face. Lai Kingdom is a demonic vine. He wants to give him advice not to provoke people who are unequal to him in strength. Yuan grinned and thanked him for this, but said that he did not need advice. At this moment, the judge said, "Ladies and gentlemen, since everyone has gathered, he declares the duel open." Many people shouted loudly in support of the guys, and at that moment Yuan used the unity spell. He growled loudly, turning into a beast. Kingdom grinned, took off his glasses and also shouted, "Unity." After that, he also turned into a monster with incredibly long shoots on his body. Yun spread his hands and raised his gaze upward, after which he said, "This is nothing." His palm with sharp claws glowed with a bright light and began to make loud sounds. Everything around lit up with a bright light and only a lot of sparks were visible everywhere, because of which Yun easily chopped off several of its branches with his magic. Ning shouted with joy, he could barely hold on. Lin Yuan, he should keep his attack up like this. Linghu, with a serious expression on his face, said that at the moment it is too early to rejoice. He is only preparing and looking through all the options. The true strength of Lai Kingdom lies in something completely different. At this moment, Kingdon's eyes glowed with a bright light and Yuan asked him a question, is this all he can do? More and more shoots fell to the ground. Lai Kingdon looked at this and spoke. It seems that he understood everything. He stopped, stood on the ground, and said, now it's time to end him. The monsters stopped opposite each other and at that moment long horsetails began to appear from the chutes under the Yuan's feet. People looked at this in surprise and opened their mouths in shock as the vine began to sprout again. Yuan looked at it carefully and thought about it. Wang Ling, who said that one of Lai Kingdon's abilities is regeneration. As long as he has enough energy, the vine will sprout endlessly. The vine reappeared from his body and he was completely renewed. Long horsetails began to intertwine over Yuan's head and at that moment Kingdon wished him to die, shouting his name. Lin Yuan looks at the growing vines and wonders how to kill him. He then opens his mouth wide and releases a blue glowing ball, which turns into a beam and shoots straight at Lai Kingdon. The crowd exclaims, incredible. So many vines, and all destroyed. What kind of plant soul is this? Kingdon begins to get angry and thinks that Yuan made him a laughing stock in front of the crowd of spectators. Then he shouts that he has completely pissed him off. The black lizard asks mockingly, yes, and what new can he show? Then the demonic vine begins to produce even more vines and weave a dome out of it on the lizard. Wang Ling, who watches with tension and says that the situation is not the most optimistic. Lin Yuan was unlikely to be able to defend against such an attack. Zhao Ming immediately clarifies, if he fails, will he lose? Linghu explains that he doesn't know. He had previously warned you that if Lai Kingdon took away the advantage, it would not be easy to regain it. Min exclaims in fear, either warn him or not, but it's hard to avoid something like that. Wang Jinzi closes his eyes tightly, folds his hands and thinks with excitement, Lin Yuan. At this time, the audience carefully watches the battle and exclaims, the same technique when many shoots are sent from all sides. At this moment, in the Kingdon arena, a black lizard is surrounded on all sides. She tries to destroy everything with her breath. The audience watches this and notes that even Lin Yuan will have to try, because one breath is not enough. At this very moment, several vines attack the lizard in the back. She notices this when suddenly the rest of the vines begin to dig into her body. Jin Zi looks at this in horror. Lai Kingdon then asks if Yuan is ready to beg for mercy. Lin Yuan doesn't answer, but understands that the vines are drawing energy from his body. Here is Lai Kingdon's second ability, energy absorption. The demonic vine asks loudly, how are you? Yuan must beg for mercy if he wants to save even a drop of energy. But the black lizard grins and replies that he has not yet achieved anything to ask for such a thing. Then he swings his claws and begins to cut all the vines. Kingdon understands that neither long-range nor close-range attacks will help. Lin Yuan begins to roar loudly and then rushes straight towards Kingdon. Suddenly he stops right in front of him, opens his mouth wide where there is a bright blue ball. The demonic vine sees this and thinks with relief, this is the nuclear breath with which the black lizard defeated Yuan Lion. But Kingdon notes, what a pity that he already knows about this technique. After this, Lai Kingdon continues to release new vines that wrap around the body and then form a shield. At this moment, Lin Yuan releases a beam of nuclear breathing, but Kingdon manages to launch this attack. The audience is surprised, what a killer move. With just her breath, Lin Yuan rightfully deserves the status of one of the talented freshmen. Can a vine shield block this? After a few moments, the attack ends and smoke and small flames emanate from Kingdon's shield. He thinks he was lucky that a large amount of energy was put into this strike before the beam collided with the shield. However, he never expected that the blow would still be powerful. But victory is still his. Yuan has no more ways to resist. But suddenly Lin Yuan grins and says that Kingdon is really unlucky. Hearing this, the demonic vine removes the shield and indignantly asks what he said. He needs to stop talking nonsense. The black lizard sees this and thinks his strength is only enough for one blow, just like him. Then he turns to Kingdon and says, without the crystal that accumulates energy, he might actually lose to him. What a pity that something like this will never happen again. Immediately after these words, blue luminous rays appear around the black lizard. Lai Kingdon sees this and wonders what kind of crystal. What's happening? Lin Yuan shouts that Lai Kingdon is an idiot. Kingdon can't understand, is this some kind of joke? He again begins to create a shield around himself, which this time is much more powerful than the previous one. But a powerful attack from the black lizard destroys the shield. Wang Linghu, Zhao Ming and Wang Jinzi watch in bewilderment. At this time, Lin Yuan uses a nuclear breath attack to throw Lai Kingdon straight into the wall. He hits it and falls to the ground. The crowd freezes with interest. Lin Yuan has won. He actually defeated Lai Qingnan. Then the voice of the presenter is heard, who announces that, based on the results of the duel, victory goes to Lin Yuan. Having defeated Lai Qingnan, he rises from 18th place to 4th. Wang Ling, who observes this and notes that he could not even think that this could happen. Then the host announces that the fight is over. Xiao Ming and Wang Jinzi hug and joyfully exclaim, "Hooray, Lin Yuan has won. 45 million. Ling, who also looks at the arena with a smile. At this moment, Wuxuangu sees Yuan standing in front of Qingnan and begins to get angry. Lai Qingnan lies unconscious on the ground. Lin Yuan is pleased to note that this is his first gift for Wuxuangu. What will he say? At this time, Gu exclaims with dissatisfaction that Yuan will still think about the consequences. He's not afraid to regret it. Lin Yuan then turns and asks what were they thinking about when they started their activities. Xiao Ming was injured by a member of the gang. He just didn't put up with the established rules, so he decided to challenge. And Songlan decided to intercede for him and was also wounded. It is still unknown when he will be discharged from the medical center. Doesn't it seem to Gu that they should have thought about the consequences first? But he replies with a grin that it was just a misunderstanding. Yuan clarifies, is there a misunderstanding? Wuxuangu explains that he, of course, feels very sorry for his roommates. Perhaps if he had been a little stricter with the members of his group, this would not have happened. However, aggression from either side is inevitable. If he wants, Gu can apologize to his friend on behalf of the entire organization. With these words, he extends his hand in compliments. Moreover, with sincere intentions, he invites Yuan and Songlan to join her. In fact, he values them very much. Maybe someday they can become friends. He doesn't have to do anything, he just has to agree. They will receive a salary exactly the same as what Shen Kang receives. The audience exclaims in bewilderment. It turns out that he wanted to woo Lin Yuan. It's called one friend more, one enemy less. Wuxuangu also doesn't know how Yuan Lion will respond to his proposal. But Yuan asks with a grin, did he put forward similar conditions to Chu Tianyi? Gu doesn't understand what he means. Lin Yuan explains that Gu takes money from ordinary freshmen in order to lure others to his side. This is the difference between him and Yura. Does Wuxuangu know why Chu Tianyi refused him? Because tigers and jackals don't live together, especially such huge ones. They are just a group of bloodsuckers parasitizing society. How dare they call serious organizations? It's actually even more immature than playing with children's toys. Wang Jinzi and Zhao Ming exclaims in shock, gee, this could lead to bad consequences now. Ling Hu adds with a smile, and they thought that he was crazy. The spectators begin to shout loudly that Lin Yuan is right. This gang only feeds off the students. Are they worthy of occupying high positions in the rating table? The Qianlong list does not exist for them to capture the top of it. Wuxuangu listens to this, gets angry and notes that he has never experienced such humiliation before. How dare this Lin Yuan tell him what to do? Yuan leaves and waves his hand and says that he is not very happy. It's okay, he can even send Shen Kang, even go out now, he doesn't care who he fights with. He then turns around and briefly says that the game has already begun. Before making a choice, Wuxuangu must think carefully. Gu doesn't answer, but just clenches his teeth and looks after Yuan. After some time, Linghu, Misha, Jinzi, Yuan and Lan gather for dinner at a private restaurant in Baiyun. From online says that this is his first time at such an event. But Wang Linghu calms him down. He doesn't have to worry, Boss Wang treats him. Zhao Ming reads the menu and exclaims, Echinoderm wyvern meat fried in soy sauce, black dragon back steak, moon panther legs, raging flame lion leg. Point all the dishes are made from such expensive ingredients that he's even somehow uncomfortable. But Wang Jinzi with a smile is different. He can order whatever he wants. When will there be another opportunity to eat food of this level? Min turns to him and says in surprise, wow, he's so generous today. Jinzi smiles and explains that Lin Yuan is to thank for this. They have 45 million. For them, such a dinner is just a trifle. Then he turns to Yuan and holding a glass of wine in his hand says with a smile he should share one glass with him. But Yuan refuses and says that he cannot. Today he planned to go to the training hall. Zhao Ming asks in shock, it can't be that he still got ready for training today. Jinzi is dissatisfied and adds that if he doesn't drink, it means he doesn't respect them. Then Lin Yuan exclaims okay, he will drink. With these words, he takes the glass and immediately drinks it all. Then Min hugs him by the shoulders and exclaims, this is another thing. At the same time, Wang Jins pours another glass of wine. Then Linghu approaches him and congratulates him with a smile on his victory over Lai Qingnan in 4th place in the ranking. Yuan replies that it was all thanks to the information he gave him. Linghu insists he shouldn't be so modest, everyone has long understood how strong he is. His friend Songlan comes up to him and also thanks him. They haven't healed early yet, so he had to replace alcohol with tea. Lin Yuan replies that it's all nothing, they are neighbors after all. Moreover, he is not going to stop there. Then Lan replies with a frown, he humiliated Wuxuangu in front of hundreds of students today. He just won't let him do it. Gu can attack on the sly, but Wang Jinzi says with a smile, it's impossible to just attack a beast lord of this level from the back. Yuan turns to him and exclaims laughing, he can rely on him. Then they start screaming for food. And they also need cups. At this time in the Yuan Lion Infirmary, lying on the hospital bed of Wuxuan Gu. He lost. How is this possible? What now? He should try to recruit Lin Yuan. Gu replies that he and Chu Tianyi are the same. Lin Yuan is even more annoying. Okay, he'll deal with it. Then he gives Lion a glass jar of green liquid and says that it is a healing elixir that restores limbs. He must anoint the wounds with it and everything will pass. But Yuan Lion exclaims that he cannot take it, it is too expensive for him. Then Gu asks with a smile what should he do when the national competition starts. He was going to fight side by side with him. Then he leaves and, waving his hand, says okay, he has to go. Lion should rest. Then he leaves the hospital room and thinks with irritation that the first one, the second one, they are all just idiots. Then he goes to the vice rector's office and knocks on the door. The vice rector shouts that he can come in. Wuxuan Gu walks into the room and says, "Uncle." But the senior vice rector of the academy, Lai Xiangui, suddenly turns around and says that he didn't think he had such a worthless nephew. He then turns and asks if Gu knows what is his mistake. In excessive swagger, he thinks he is brave and adaptable to circumstances, but in reality he is just a brainless fool. After all, the reason why people push him around is because of his own weakness. He gave him everything, means opportunities. But Gu never progressed beyond third place, which is a shame. Lai Xiangui then looks out the window and wonders, as a student of this academy, he never made it out of the top list, why then is Wuxuan Gu so worthless? Then he turns to Gu and asks, so what does he need? Frowning, he answers his uncle that it's okay, he will personally contact Lin Yuan and restore his reputation. But Xiangui replies that he should not even try to challenge him if he is not sure of victory. In 10 days, the National Freshman Tournament will officially begin. Prestigious educational institutions from all over the country attach considerable importance to this event. Beijing will gather all the talents. Does he understand what we are talking about? Only by performing well at the tournament will he be able to demonstrate to everyone that he is truly worthy of leading people. Gu clenches his teeth and tells his uncle that he understands. Then Lai Xiangui sits down at the table, begins to write something and says that this is good, he will take care of the rest, Gu must return to training. Wuxuan Gu thanks him for his guidance. At this time, in the training room, Yu Qingku exclaimed, that's for sure. Lin Yuan defeated Lai Qingnan. Su Muzu hears this and happily notes, after all, he never did anything he was unsure of. King Q then asks, by the way, she has already reached a sufficient level to compete for a place on the ranking list. What does she think? Muzu explains that the tournament will start soon, there are only 12 empty places left. She needs to be in the top 10 to have a chance to pass. Yu Qingku replies again, with her current abilities there should be no problem. Who is she going to fight? Muzu replies with Wuxuan Gu, of course. Yu Qingku clarifies because he insulted Lin Yuan. Su Muzu exclaims with a frown, yes, she has no reason to let him go. Qingku thinks displeasedly, wow, he's really going to intercede. After some time, Lin Yuan Imzio Hailong comes to the capital of the Beast Soul Hall. Yuan looks around and remarks admiringly, this place really deserves to be called a hall. Such a scale, such a scope. Hailong adds, there is everything here, a practice area, a business area, a place for quests, entertainment, consultations and talent identification. To buy something, they just need to go to the shopping area. When they enter the room, a girl consultant greets them and asks what interests them. She looks at Yuan and thinks with disdain, he is so young, it seems he is not able to collect a large amount of things. Yuan then asks if storage artifacts are sold here. The girl immediately exclaims joyfully, of course, they can follow her. At this time she thinks that the check will be for several million. A few moments later they are on the 12th floor near the artifacts counter. Lin Yuan says in admiration that when he was promoted, the bronze storage he wanted was only 10 cubic meters in volume. Hailong also looks at the counter in fascination and replies that this is too little. They should buy more. Then he returns to the girl and asks if they have artifacts with a volume of more than 10 cubic meters. She answers immediately, of course. If they allow it, she can recommend a few for them. Then she shows them one of the vaults and says, this is a ring with a vault, it has a reserve of 20 cubic meters. It is convenient to use, easy to carry. The ring is well suited for young people who are often away from home. At the same moment she thinks to herself that the price for this is 5 million. But Yuan immediately replies that he will take it. He then asks, by the way, he also needs lower level beast soul crystals, do they have those? The consultant girl asks in surprise how much does he need. She notes that he is rich in addition to having fantastic curiosity. Yuan explains with a smile that he needs 100,000. The girl apologizes in bewilderment and asks why he needs so much. Because of this amount, she will have to contact the manager. Lin Yuan chuckles slightly and explains that he is from the Beast Academy. His mentor is conducting an experiment, namely studying how creatures change after long-term use of crystals of the lower soul of the beast, and he only helps him with purchases. At this moment he wonders, he won't lie if he hides the fact that he is the same mentor. The girl looks at him with admiration and answers, of course. He only needs to wait 1 minute, they will prepare everything for him. He also adds that he still needs 100 miraculous beast pills. The girl looks at him with adoration and thinks that he is an excellent student, and even has money, he is also very generous. This is wonderful. Xiao Hailong asks Yura in surprise, this time everything costs 20 million, what else do you need? He exhales and answers, no, there's not much left in the account, he needs to leave a little. But suddenly Lin Yuan notices something in front of him and his eyes widen. Then he takes a closer look and sees a Beast King level artifact, Wind Spirit Talisman. Attribute is wind, worth 20 million. He immediately asks, what is this? Hailong explains that this is a runic type artifact that does not take up a weapon or armor slot, but adds attributes. This type of rune increases the agility attribute. Yuan clarifies, just like Songlan's buff. Xiao Hailong explains with pleasure, one might say so. However, in a single battle, there will be no Songlan who could share this very buff. Yuan notes quite well, excellent. Eventually, the explosive power he possesses reduces the value of his agility attribute. But somehow it's too expensive, he's missing 12 million. Hailong clarifies that this money can be borrowed. Yuan immediately happily replies that this is also true. He then calls Wang Jinzi. He answers and asks what happened. Yuan asks him if he would borrow 15 million for a month. Jinzi asks in surprise what? He had more than 20 million, where did this money go? Yuan sheepishly explains that he spent everything on equipment. Wang Jinzi agrees and replies that he will transfer the money now. Yuan thanks him sincerely. At this moment, a girl approaches him and, turning to Lin Yuan, hands him a package and says that his crystals and storage ring are packed. She also exclaims in her mind, she loves the wealth deity Caitian very much. But Yuan points to the Wind Spirit Talisman and clarifies that he will take that too. The girl looks at him in shock and thinks with gratitude that the number of sales has reached average levels already at the beginning of the month. A few moments later, Lin Yuan and Hailong leave the store, at which time the girl bows to the floor and exclaims that the gentleman should come to them again. Yuan hears this and thinks that he was almost a rich man and became a debtor in an instant. But who could hold his place? In the afternoon, he goes into the hostel and asks his neighbors why they are all gathered. Zhao Ming finds out that he arrived just in time. Will he go to the lecture with them? Yuan explains that he is very tired today and besides, training affects him much more effectively. Songlan agrees, that's right, but the lecture will be very useful for people of their level, so it's better to go. Yuan clarifies, what is the lecture about? Leaving the room, Lan explains that they say there is a gap between the level of an overlord and a king. Many people settled on the overlord. Wang Jins then adds enthusiastically, and so this time, Teacher Zhao personally volunteered to give the lecture. He will teach Yuan to evolve to the level of a king. Lin Yuan hears this and is very surprised. After some time, the students gather in the lecture hall of the Animal Academy. Lin Yuan comes in and looks around in bewilderment and asks, is Teacher Zhao really that popular? Ming immediately answers, of course, he reached the level of a king at a young age, which caused quite a stir in society. If you look ahead, everyone in the front rows is already occupied. Then Wang Jinzi smiles slyly and says that they can rely on him. With him they will definitely take their places in front. And then he approaches the students loudly and says, he's sorry, they're a little late. If someone gives up their seats, he will give each of them 10,000 yuan. Students immediately began to raise their hands and brought up that they could give up their seats. A few moments later, Ming, sitting in the front row, exclaims, the power of money in all its glory. Jinzi adds this for sure. After this, Zhao Shan comes on stage and notices that Lin Yuan has also come to listen. He stands near the pulpit and announces that he is very glad to greet everyone. He believes everyone is here to learn how to evolve to the level of a king. As he already knows, many of those present have already achieved this, but as they progress, they probably find themselves stuck in one place and unable to advance further. This issue is the most pressing, so the Beast Soul Hall has conducted several studies. In the end, the following conclusion was reached: many of them still do not understand their own path. Yuan hears this and wonders the way. The students also started discussing what they don't understand. What is he talking about? Shan explains that the so-called path is the ideal correspondence of a person personally with his beast soul. In other words, it is complete unity. Zhao Mino approaches Song Lan and asks him if he understands anything. Lan thoughtfully replies that he understands something, but he is not sure if this is correct. Continues to explain, students do not have to worry, slight misunderstanding is normal. He should give a more specific example. Once in the process of cultivation, he spent 6 months hiking in places with majestic landscapes. His animal soul is an earthen angry bear, so he considered it necessary to feel the power of the earth, the power of it, and also understand every movement of the wild beast. Until one day, finally, he felt a change. The strength of the earth and the strength of the bears became his strength. At this moment, a large angry bear appears above Zhao Shan, screaming loudly. The students see this and exclaim in admiration. Yuan also looks in surprise and thinks that every word he says is admirable. Shan is complimented, naturally, every soul is unique and everyone has their own path. They need to figure out what works best for them. There is no need to rush into this. The best king level mentor today is Jiang Yang. It also took him 3 years to find his way. Yuan grins and wonders, 3 years. Heron explains, that's right, after he found his path, he raised his soul level from S rank to SSS rank in a day, and the 9 stars of the Overlord turned into 6 stars of the King. Explains, before evolving, Jiang Yang was a mediocre soul master, but perseverance and perseverance are precisely the qualities that they lack. Consequently, the process of evolution is not as complicated as it might seem at first glance, but at the same time it is not entirely simple. Lin Yuan thinks about it, the path is truly an abstract concept. You need to merge into one with the soul. In other words, you need to find a response in your own consciousness. After the end of the lecture, only the worm Misha, Song Lan, Lin Yuan, and Wang Jinzi remained in the audience. After a short silence, Ming asked with confusion which soul was teacher Chang speaking to. He didn't understand a word. Does he really need to catch a few snakes to prevent insight? But Jinzi replies that he didn't understand anything either. At this time, Song Lan, thinking about it, said that he had come to some kind of realization. Previously, he resisted his soul beasts, so he tried to develop physical skills, but in the battle with Yuan Lion he realized that this was not the advantage at all. So, maybe he should still accept the characteristics of his beast. Lin Yuan listens to him and is surprised. Song Lan thinks like a real genius. He got his bearings so quickly. Suddenly someone addresses him. Yuan turns around and sees Zhao Shan. He asks how did he like the lecture? Did he emphasize something new? Yuan answered yes, but he still can't figure out which path to take. Zhao Shan comes up to him and calms him down. He doesn't have to worry. He has recently evolved to the level of a winner. What's unique is that it happened so quickly, and in addition, he took 4th place in the rating list. Yuan stands opposite him and replies that he couldn't lose face in front of him. By the way, he must also return something to the professor. With these words he hands him the vault. Shan takes it and asks with a smile, not bad, they must have earned a lot from betting. At this moment, Jinzi approaches Yuan and they say that Zhao Shan can also join. But he shakes his head and replies that he will probably refuse. By the way, if they still want to challenge Wuxu and Gu, then they will have to wait a couple of weeks since he was sent on some mission. Hearing this, Wang Jinzi turns to Yuan and says that Gu is avoiding him on purpose. But Shan hears this and explains that there is no need to exaggerate. His uncle is Vice Rector Lai Xiangui. He gave him an assignment. The Heron answers displeasedly, understandably. Vice Rector Lai never got along with his father, so he does this. Chang Shan approaches Lin Yuan, puts his hand on his shoulder and tells him not to worry. If something happens, he will not leave his students alone. The national tournament is coming soon, they can calmly prepare while there is time. Yuan thanks the professor for this, and then day begins to change to night. Lin Yuan is in the practice room and absorbs the nuclear energy of the lower crystals. Hai Long exclaims, the effect of 100 pills was powerful, it would only take 5 days to absorb 5,000 crystals. He has now successfully reached the 4th Overlord star. Lin Yuan closes his eyes and notes that it is a shame that he had to spend 5 million evolution points on this. Maybe Professor Zhao was right, and all because of the lack of awareness of his path. Then Zhao Hai Long asks if he can try the real combat training mode. As he remembers, there was one in the training room. Yuan listens to him carefully and then presses a special key and says that he will check it now. The information window offers an article about the swamp squid, which is good at fighting in a swamp environment and has extreme vitality. Then, the terrifying golden wolf, which is an extremely bloody monster. After this, the information window offers the terrible golden monkey, an incredibly ferocious and bloodthirsty monster. Finally, an armored monkey with a golden pupil, covered with steel armor, very powerful defense, causes hallucinations when making direct eye contact using the golden pupil. Hai Long explains that the actual battle simulation function allows you to select the enemy according to his strength and simulate the battle process 100%. You won't have to worry about the poison. Then Lin Yuan points his fingers at the screen and says, here, he chooses the 5-star armored monkey. Then he carefully looks ahead and finds himself in the middle of a large field. The information window notifies that the battle simulation with the armored monkey has been successfully simulated. He can begin the battle. The black lizard looks around and wonders where. Suddenly a large monkey appears in front of her, growling loudly and beating her chest with her fists. Suddenly the monkey hits the black lizard on the paw. She notes, what a strength. Then the monkey attacks the lizard again. He is surprised, and this is 5 stars. Then the monkey swings, but Lin Yuan is also preparing at the base, then grabs the monkey's throat and wonders what. It turns out that the neck is not the weak link. The whole monkey is covered with armored fur. How can this be? Then the black lizard realizes that his claws are stuck. At that very moment the monkey wounds the lizard in the chest. She is perplexed, how is this possible? In the training hall of the Beast Academy, Lin Yuan is in a simulation. The monkey throws him to the ground with a blow. Yuan lands and ends up on the floor of the practice room. The information window announces that the battle simulation has ended, the president has died. Test failed. Lin Yuan sits on the floor and notes that these pain sensations are too realistic. If they had fought for real, he definitely would not have survived. He underestimated the enemy. He should pay more attention to his strength and speed. Besides, his intuition failed, and he could not accurately determine the weakness in monkeys. Hai Long asks in surprise, will Yuan try again, or change the opponent? Yuan resolutely replies that he wants to try again, and the strength is not that much different. A few moments later, he finds himself back in the simulation. An armored monkey appears in front of him and Lin Yuan immediately realizes that he needs to seize the initiative. After that, he opens his mouth wide and shoots nuclear breath at the monkey. But the nuclear breath rushes past the monkey and does not hurt it at all. Yuan closes his mouth and notes that the old techniques no longer work on him. Suddenly the monkey jumps up and begins to fall directly on the black lizard. But at that moment the monkey sees the black lizard open its mouth and a stream of nuclear breath bursts out of the earth. The monkey is thrown high into the air and dies. Lin Yuan says goodbye to her with a smile. Then the monkey falls and the black lizard jumps on top of it. After this he continues to stab the monkey. Suddenly he turns back into a human, is surprised and hears what was announced. The simulation will be completed. The monkey with the golden pupil is dead. The task is completed successfully. If there is information, then it doesn't matter what level the opponent is, he can still win. At this time, a meeting was taking place at the Animal Academy. Wang Ting announced that the time had come, they could begin. At this very moment, Lai Xiangui comes into the room and asks for forgiveness for being late. He explains that he felt bad. Then he sits down at the table and asks Director Wang to continue, not to pay attention to him. He answers you, okay, it seems there shouldn't be anyone else. Then he will continue. This time they must determine the final list of participants. He wants to recommend Song Lin. He thinks this man needs no introduction. Suddenly Xianggui's phone rings. He explains that he forgot to turn off the sound, and then laughs and adds that it is his fault. There is silence in the room. Lai Xiangui looks at Wang Ting and thinks that this old man appeared very suddenly. Zhao Shan looks at him and thinks that he is provoking openly or secretly. Then Ling Xuingyu, Su Muxu's mentor, a king-level overlord, says that she agrees with the director's proposal. On her part, she nominates Su Muxu, an S-rank snow nine-tailed fox. Moreover, now her bloodline has grown to the SSS rank. Zhao Shan listens to her entertainingly and notes that he could not even think that Lin Xuingyu, the person who held the post of deputy rector, would suddenly propose a candidacy. Moreover, Muxu, a student who was able to reach the SSS rank in a short time. Wang Ting asks if there is any objection to her candidacy. Suddenly the man raises his hand and announces that he is nominating Chu Tianyi. Shan turns in his direction and thinks how cunning. He nominated the first on the list, Qianlong. After this, Director Wang says with a smile, and so, 3 positions were determined. But suddenly Xiangui announces that he is nominating Wu Xuangu. He is now in 3rd place on the list, also rank SSS. He believes that Xuangu is prepared enough to participate in the competition. People sitting at the table also begin to discuss that this student is really not bad. He has not only strength, but also organizational skills, which makes him a leader among the freshmen. This is true. Director Wang remembers the same leader of the list of hunters. A few days ago he came to watch the match and saw him. He thinks that Xuangu reminds him of them when he was young, so it's no surprise that they agreed. In response to this, Lai Xiangui grins and says, no need. He also thinks that bats are a wolf in sheep's clothing, nothing will work out for him. Sooner or later everything will belong to Xiangui. Suddenly Zhao Shan announces that he is also offering Lin Yuan. He recently defeated Lai Qingnan and was ranked 4th on the ranking list.